Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. What happens when you throw all of the storylines and performers from WWE into the ring at the same time and let them duke it out? You get something akin to sports entertainment in a blender set to high, along with a few surprises on the side. What with all the upheaval from 2022 and the new season of upheaval happening right now, we figured this was a good time to sneak in one more pay-per-view review before somebody lights a match and busts this place out for sale. So your humble idiotic hosts are here to run down all the happenings in San Antonio this past Saturday in this episode 123, the Royal Rumble Review. I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who to this day claims he had the idea for the Royal Rumble a good week before Pat Patterson did 35 years ago, but Vince McMahon wouldn't take his call because, well, he was 12. He has been my partner in idiocy for over 2 decades and has never been tossed over the top rope. I give you the man they call Tim.
Greetings and salutations, my friend. I tried to reach out to Vincent Kennedy McMahon, but he would not take my call.
I mean, in his defense, he was probably climbing out of a pile of cocaine the size of a small house.
Jeez. Scarface style or something? Is that what you're saying?
And eating a power bar at the same time. I mean, we just know these things.
Grumbling, draw me money.
I would worry about Vince suing me, but right now I think he's got enough things going on in his life that we can slide that one under the radar.
Uh-huh.
So how are you doing, sir?
I am well, and
I know you've just come from having a lovely dinner, as always.
I mean,
you are the real life $1 million man, just like driving in limousines, eating at 5-star restaurants. What a life!
That's true.
What a life you live.
That's true. It is. We my wife and I brought our youngest back to school this weekend, so we're once again empty nesters. We decided to go grab a bite to eat tonight, and I had myself a nice appetizer of crispy pork belly, and then I had myself a burger with sunny side egg on top, bacon jam, little provolone cheese in there, a little creamy slaw, and it was just chef's kiss. Good stuff.
Yep, and once again, just Hellman's mayonnaise running through this guy's veins. Just heart barely beating. That's why it's so healthy. It's like once per hour.
I have had several doctor appointments this month. This is like December and January are kind of my months for kind of getting all the health stuff, the follow-ups, the checkups and things. And so I've had my heart listened to by 3 different doctors who all said sounding perfect, sounding good working order, and clean bill of health. So,
well, I mean, I do make jokes, but at the same time, I mean, your days without incident is approaching like the Roman Reigns-esque level of title reign. So
this is true.
I can't say too much.
I need to have my own wise man. I need to have my own wise man walking around, holding up the number of, since the last incident. So,
well, I'll tell you what. I'll start calling you Shmooly, and we'll just call it even. How about that?
Shmooly, the chair's over here. We'll get to that later.
When did Paul Heyman just decide to go full on Fiddler on the Roof?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for him to come out on Raw. Be like, if I was a rich man.
Exactly.
And you know what? It would be fantastic. I would actually. You know what? Put that on pay-per-view next time. I want to see a one-man rendition of Fiddler on the Roof with Paul Heyman playing all the parts.
Paul Heyman.
It would be fantastic.
Full on Yiddish. There it is.
Oh my gosh. I never knew I wanted something so bad. And now it doesn't exist, and I will just weep.
And you, sir, how are you? You've you were having your own little Royal Rumble this week, in a way.
3 years of ducking, bobbing, and weaving, and Big Rona finally caught me with a straight right to the head. Ah, damn it! I thought I was going to be the last man standing in this, but nope, didn't happen that way. Yep, came back with a positive COVID test last week, and I was down for the count for a couple of days before I tested positive, just feeling like crap and thinking, no, this is just normal. No, it wasn't, but oh well. Geez. I'm on the mend now and recovered in a sufficient time to partake in the Royal Rumble. So all is good. All is good. And the family,
very nice.
We seem to have this way. So my wife and my daughter tested positive for COVID last year. And somehow in like a 1,200 square foot house that we were renting with like no separation, no possible way to isolate or separate.
Yeah.
One bathroom, like the whole deal. Like there was no way to do this unless it was like a couple of buckets and I was sliding like toast under the door. That was the only way that we were going to be able to isolate. And if you knew my wife and daughter, you know that ain't going to happen. So in a 1,200 square foot house, all sharing the same air, like in the middle of winter too, when you can't even like open for ventilation.
Yeah.
I somehow managed to get through both of them being sick for, really sick for a few days. And then my wife being sick for like a month or so afterwards. Jeez. I managed to make it through without a positive COVID test.
Wow.
No symptoms, nothing. And so far
in the camel clutch, weren't you?
Yeah. And so far right now, knock on wood, my wife and daughter are both feeling great. In spite of them being like completely exposed to this before I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And so maybe we have this thing in our family where it's like, we just, we catch the Rona from others, but apparently between ourselves, we don't catch it. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But hey, I'll take it. That is the best. If you got to choose a way to go, at least, don't make the people around you sick if you can avoid it.
Right. Right.
But I probably will cough a couple of times because I'm still dealing with a few things. However, thankfully, I have some minor case rye to help medicate that.
There you go.
Better than Robitussin.
Very nice. Gotta have the tussin.
That tussin in there.
Gotta get the tussin.
You run out of tussin, put some water in the bottle, shake it up, more tussin.
Oh, that's a great bit.
I should have done that with a NyQuil that I had because I could probably use some tonight. I threw the bottle away stupidly. Gosh. I might be pawing through my recycling like a raccoon at like 10:30 tonight when we're done recording, looking for that NyQuil bottle.
Your wife's gonna come downstairs with a flashlight, flash it, and just get that that raccoon eye reflection look. Like you go scurrying off to some corner,
swinging at me like with a broom. Get away! Well, I mean,
I can see it.
That's how you keep marriage interesting, ladies and gentlemen. A little role play. It's not really the kind that you think about, but hey, everybody has their own thing. That's all I'm saying. Everybody has their own. Where the hell are we going with this episode?
I don't know. You brought up the raccoon thing, and then we just ran with it. So,
all right. Well, anyways, so you're doing well. I'm recovering from Rona. Let's get to the Week in Geek. So, what do we got here?
All right.
Week in Geek.
Feels so funky.
Oh my goodness,
dear Lord!
Yeah, that turned a corner, didn't it?
The only people happy with this right now are the furries. That's about it. And hey, I got no problem. Whatever you want to do. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh! All right. Well, first teed up. This was a story we had to cut from last week's episode because we had, of course, the Vincent Kennedy McMahon debacle to go through. But this was something from I came across on fandomwire.com. Some concept art for Avengers Secret Wars featuring Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man facing Jonathan Majors' Kang. Just was bringing this up. It's not saying it's going to happen. It's just saying there's some concept art around the film. This article is really just kind of posing the question: is this something that you, as a fan, would be, looking forward to or wanting to see? And we see this a lot. There's concept art that comes out that doesn't ever really materialize. When they actually film the movie, it's again in the name concept. But
well, let me just stop you here because
yes.
This is one of the rare occasions that I had a little extra time before we started recording, so I actually looked at a couple of these links. It's fan art. It's not concept art from the film. It's fan art.
All right, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's not anything from officially from Marvel.
Okay.
It's just fan art, and of course then people are like, oh my gosh, this movie's so...
Okay, I see. Well, then let us address it from the question, which I will put before Uncle Todd. Would you, the idea of this, the idea of this fan-based art, do you want to see a Robert Downey Jr. come back kind of toward the end of Phase 5 in Secret Wars, or to help face off against King, or would you prefer that he stay kind of retired? We've seen enough of his Tony Stark.
Well, Shmuley, I'll put it out to you like this: neither.
Yes, my tribal chief.
Yes, yes, my tribal chief. Oh my gosh, he was going so over the top. He knew that they had more mics outside the ring.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Heyman was a revelation
for
last
leather.
night.
Oh my god, he was like in fifth gear. It was amazing. But no, I don't want to see him come back because I don't think that there's a great. I think it. I don't want to say that because I loved his Tony Stark. I feel like I'm talking about his Hamlet. Oh, his Hamlet was the talk of the town. I thought he was great as Iron Man. Carried the MCU on his shoulders, and obviously right now they're still having trouble finding their footing without him.
Yeah,
quite honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think they could find a way that really makes that much sense. If they did find a good way, then I would be open to it. But honestly, I would, and it's not like I wanted to see him retired either. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I would love for them to bring him back voice only for Ironheart's AI.
Yes,
because it ties into the comics. I think it would be great. I think it'd be a way that he could help elevate that character even more than I think it already is, because I think people are already pretty excited about Riri. So I think that's the one way that it would really take that character up over the top and could really I don't know. I just think there could be a really interesting interaction there. And it might even bring up the opportunity for, a hologram of Tony, as the AI talking with her and stuff like that. You can even do something like that if you really want to tug the heartstrings. I think that's much more likely and much more explainable in a way. But I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to happen that he'll come back because he's already said that he's kind of done unless they come up with like a 1 in a billion opportunity, which I don't know that they even want to do that.
Yeah, you've got to move on from it, and we've talked about this before. I think the arc, the Infinity Saga arc, is just a phenomenal piece of storytelling. It was well done, and you don't want to disrupt or ruin the balance and the symmetry that was kind of laid out across those 10 years when you go from Iron Man all the way through to Endgame. And we've talked about this ad nauseum. There were stories that were story arcs told between him and Captain America, with him and his struggle with, this universal threat that he was trying to prepare for. And it just feels out of place to just kind of drop him into this whole Kang situation that's about to start with Ant-Man and Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So yeah, I'm with you. As much as I think there are some fans who would love to, as we will get into with our main event topic here, as much as there are fans that want to see, kind of the old guard come back, you got to start making room for the young bucks and the new, the new faces and the new characters, and you got to let them stand on their own and develop their stories. And so, I'm as you just said, I'm leaning a bit more toward thank you, but no.
Yes. Yep. Much like we talked about with Tom Brady.
Yes.
Why are you going to you've already gone through the process of getting past and finding yourself afterwards. Why are you going to go back and then have to start that project all over again?
Yeah.
And it might not even work as well as you think it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, it's not a given.
I could see them doing something where, because they're getting into the multiverse and different, fractured universes and stuff, that they could do some maybe comedy bits where you have kind of a just a very offbeat sort of Tony Stark from what we're used to, just pop in there, but not the one we know being a part of the actual serious, kind of battle that's going to take place with Kang.
And if you do that, then you risk diminishing his final moment, which I think is what Robert Downey Jr. is kind of really leaning at. Like, he had this moment. Like, why do you want to ruin that?
Yeah.
And it would have to be really special and logical, but also not diminish that moment. That is like literally a 1 in a billion scenario.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Ain't happening. Next, moving right along. We have a little bit of, we're probably going to start seeing some media, some rumors, some news coming up with the upcoming season 3 of Picard.
Oh boy!
And this one here, I really haven't been reading a whole lot about what's to come. I know, the Next Generation cast is going to have a much more prominent role than they have had in, I wouldn't even say season 2, mostly season 1. We saw Riker, we saw Troy, and of course Data. But this one this article on CBR.com is focused on Gates McFadden, who played Dr. Beverly Crusher, and specifically her addressing her character not being a part of, being absent from Starfleet heading into Picard season 3. And so she said in this article, her quotation is, this is a different, she says, to me, what was really different in this iteration is that you just saw that, the characters had aged. In particular, Crusher hadn't been in Starfleet like the others had stayed in Starfleet much longer. She's had to become a warrior in a different way. She's been exploring places that had not been explored and planets that didn't have medical help. So to her, that was fascinating, and she likes that kind of action. She's always loved that, and loved the fact that she gets to start the whole 3rd season. It's kind of a different start or different thread for her character than what we might have been used to seeing her doing, based on her work on the original Next Generation series, as well as the movies. So yeah, I'm kind of for me, I'm kind of interested in this, like, and I enjoy the fact that coming back into the world of getting the cast back together. We've already kind of seen it in the trailer. Worf seems to be this peaceful hippie now or something like that. So and Crusher,
it's almost like Major League 2, where Serrano turns into like the Zen kind of guy.
Yes. and apparently we have Beverly Crusher, who is still gallivanting the galaxy, but bringing her brand of first aid or Red Cross, let's call it, sort of approach to helping other races and other other planets. And so I thought this was kind of interesting. Like I said, I really haven't seen a whole lot, and I'm trying to kind of stay away from it. I'd like to just kind of be surprised going into it. I don't want to have too many details, but thought it was kind of interesting for her character to be kind of disassociated from Starfleet, be off in kind of her own journey, and then just seeing how she's pulled back in based on what's going on with the storyline in this. So your thoughts on this, sir?
First of all, I just want to make sure I get credit for being the first person, I believe, to ever compare Pedro Serrano and Lieutenant Worf. I just want to make sure I'm on record and clarify
Duly noted.
I love the idea. I think it's one of those ideas that it should exist in this world. It makes sense to have and to me it's either, like you said, like a Red Cross sort of situation, or like a Doctors Without Borders sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like that sort of deal. Like, and it makes sense. It totally makes sense. And this is one of the reasons why I think that the Star Trek Discovery, have done, and Strange New Worlds have been really cool because it does involve some of those aspects outside of Starfleet. We don't just see the Starfleet perspective, and I like the fact that that's being involved there. That being said, my hopes are not high for season 3.
Yeah,
based on season 2. We'll see. I'm glad that that Beverly Crusher is back. Had a huge crush on Dr. Crusher when Next Generation came out, and always thought she was a great character, and especially had some of those moments where are a bit more standing up to Picard that I thought were great. I'm excited to have her back, and I think this is a cool story point for her character's kind of background of like where she's been between the Next Generation movies and now.
I would agree.
All in.
All right.
On character, not season 3. I just want to say I'm all into the character development, not season 3. I want to specify that for the record.
I thought we were getting Uncle Todd being a little more optimistic about that.
Much
Picard
like you
season
calling
3.
Things left, right, and center after you dug into that bottle of Rare Breed last night. I'm putting things on the record tonight. That's my deal,
which we'll get into in a a little bit.
Oh, you were calling a whole bunch of things. I'm pretty sure that you also said, I know where Jimmy Hoffa's buried. I'm calling it. It's exit 23 off of the Jersey Turnpike.
Ah, boy.
Then again, maybe I had a couple of extra blonde ales that I don't remember.
Mr. Crusher, make it so. All right.
Shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley. All right. From Star Trek, we circle back around to Marvel because, hey, let's face it, with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania coming up soon here. And Loki season 2, which is what we'll be discussing here from comicbookmovie.com. There is a bit of a potential spoiler, potential rumor here around in Loki season 2, a potential variant of Kang that we will be introduced to. It seems from things I'm reading here that this may be part of what gets played out in phase 5 here is the meeting of these variants and these different personalities or versions of Kang. In this case for Loki season 2, in the article here, it's credits Daniel Rickman via Covered Geekly, whatever that is, has since followed up on claiming Disney Plus.
You couldn't find anything on Cloaked Mouse?
Not quite Cloaked Mouse. Will feature a Kang variant who is an inventor in the past looking to buy specific items in order to manipulate the future. And while this is pretty vague, the article says it sounds very much like one Victor Timely. So apparently there's a version of Kang from the comic books who was defeated in whatever he was trying to accomplish, but traveled back to 1901 to plan his conquest of the modern age. Establishing the town of Timely in Wisconsin, he created Timely Industries, began to create various robots. One of his employees, Phineas Horton, would go on to build the original Human Torch. So the idea here is that this would be potentially, so it says much of the equipment built by the industries are going to be used by the likes of Reed Richards, Misty Knight, and even Deathlock, showing what an impact Victor had on the wider Marvel universe. So, and I think later in the article, it also goes into like, if this happened, if he's revealed here, this might, play into what Kang built as Chronopolis, which is apparently this fortress we've been seeing in the trailer of Ant-Man and the Wasp. And so, it just may be a full circle sort of thing that we kind of see the genesis of how, Kang basically gets into his situation that will find him in Ant-Man and the Wasp and then go from there. So who knows? It's all up in the air, but Loki season 2, I believe, is not slated to start until sometime this summer. So we will have to buckle up and wait, but we do have Ant-Man and the Wasp coming out on February 17th. So thoughts on this, sir?
Wow, that's a whole lot. But hey, if we get a guy named Phineas somehow involved in the MCU, I'm all for it. I'm just a big fan of Phineas. I feel it's a very underused name in fiction and in life in general. Yes, that's what I took out of all that because that was just
you should
huge.
Watch the show Phineas and Ferb. Very funny.
You know what? I didn't even think of that until right now. Thank you. Always Johnny on the spot with the reference.
Indeed.
That's a whole lot of information, but I'm all up for it. I think it was a given that we were going to get a whole bunch of Kang variants. I thought that was just sort of given, but I like the fact that this one sounds really interesting.
Yeah,
what were you going to say, sir?
One last little thing. When I mentioned like this what the article is saying that Loki season 2 would do is the rumor here is that maybe it is Loki who is the one that gets Kang stuck in his situation in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So what we can divine from the trailer so far is he needs Ant-Man's help for something. We don't know quite what that is yet. So he is in a position where he needs help. And what I think this article is kind of rumoring, if it is in fact this Victor Timely variant, is that it ends up being Loki who may end up, getting him stuck where he is. So almost being like the predecessor or the prequel to what we see in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So
Loki causing problems? The hell you say?
No, never.
Jeez. Boy, saw that one coming a mile away.
Oh, you ever watched the movie Grosse Point Blank?
Yes.
Dan Aykroyd as one of the the leader of the hitmen union or whatever, and John Cusack's like, he's like, you ratted me out. He's like, and Aykroyd's like, me? No, never. Just that smarmy Aykroyd way of.
Yep.
Love it. Anyways, well, that, my friends, is a Marvel Star Trek Week in Geek.
Wow, we kept that one under like a half hour. That's pretty impressive.
Well, that was kind of the point, because we're getting into the meat next, ladies and gentlemen. Watch out.
The meats. Okay. Meats. Everything has to do with the meats or the bourbons for the man they call Tim. Indeed. So we might as well dive into this. And by this, we mean the 2023, the 35th Royal Rumble, if I have that correct, from the 8,000 times that Michael Cole mentioned it last night. Live from San Antonio, Texas, with over 58,000 people at the Alamo Dome? Something like that?
I took note of the self-promotion they did here. Hold on a moment.
That's a lot of mofos in there.
Yes. Where did it go? Yeah, I think it was 58. I wrote it down in my notes here somewhere.
And they were really trying to soak that for, all it's worth by not having
51,338.
Okay. And they were trying to fit everyone in there too, because they did not have their normal, big stage setup, which would, block off almost, an entire end of an arena.
Yeah.
So that big LED stage, no, it was just like a little corner of that sucker set up. Like it was almost old school WWF with like the wicked long aisle down the side.
Yeah. What did you think of the runway, man? When I saw that, I'm like, man, if I'm the talent, I'm like, I should have worked on my cardio more.
Yes. Yes.
Because that is a long, long way down.
I mean, granted, we've seen that before. I remember the first Rumble that we talked about a couple of years ago, when Edge came back, they had a long runway like that, but I believe that was also a bigger stadium. I don't think it was outside.
Yeah, I think it was the stadium in Tampa, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
I think
it was. I mean, it was a big joint.
Yeah,
like they were coming out of, I think, a dugout sort of a situation, something like that. But yeah, so I mean, they've done that before. But yeah, that was a long ass way to the ring for sure. It had like the bend.
Yeah,
like there was a 90-degree dog leg at the end. It was like a par 5. Like, okay, yeah, you go 400 yards this way, and then there's a dog leg to the left, and there's the ring.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I think it was WrestleMania 7. Was it 7 or 8? I'm thinking of. 1 second.
Well, 3. They had the forklift with the. They drove like Andre down on.
Yeah, I think it was WrestleMania 8 I'm thinking of. But what was most reminiscent to me, and I know I joked about this, we'll get to it when Nikki Cross came out, but when she came out, I really did have like a flashback to WrestleMania 8 when because that was the double main event where Hogan and Sid Justice fought, and at the end of the match, it was the return of the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
And when the Ultimate Warrior came out, like, there was something about his size and the length of that runway where, I mean, he's running, but you can tell he's got a ways to go. Like as fast as the Warrior would run to the ring, it just didn't seem like he was making a lot of progress,
Yeah, no,
it was really funny, and I felt the same way for poor Nikki Cross. She was hauling, and
well,
it's like
she's like 4'11" too. I mean, I'm not believe me, I'm not saying this as like someone who's a tall dude. I'm not that tall, and I've got like short legs from even my height. Like, I felt her pain as she's hauling down there. I'm like, oof. That's a long way on short legs. That's a long way.
Yes, indeed.
Oh my gosh, they should have given her like a golf cart or something. Although that would have been even more terrifying.
I mean, gosh, at one point Becky Lynch, when she hit the dog leg, she's like peering around the corner at Bailey. I mean, it like your description of it was perfect. It was a dog leg because it's like you literally couldn't see into the ring until you rounded that corner.
You almost needed like a guide to get you there. Like they needed to have people.
Someone didn't walk down with a periscope or something like that, you know?
That would have actually been a great thing for like someone to come out like full golf outfit and they're consulting notes and looking down. Oh yeah, okay, so it goes to the left. Gotcha. But yeah, they wanted to fit every single butt they could in a seat for that venue right there. They maxed it out for sure.
Yeah.
But packed house and a lively crowd, a lively crowd. They were into this thing, at all the right moments. And when something wasn't going, like they were a very good crowd to me because I think they were there in the right places. And then when something wasn't going that well, they weren't just mindlessly cheering. They would get quiet real quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, okay, never mind. You know, so it was very good. You could kind of really read. You got a good mirror back to your own emotions from the crowd. You know, like, am I missing it? Am I just the only one? No, it seems like everyone there is dead too. Okay, it's not just me. But so starting this thing off, we get, of course, the return, triumphant or otherwise, of Pat McAfee as the surprise commentator.
I didn't understand that at all. It's like, why did we have to have that?
Well, is he from Texas?
I don't know. I know he's been an announcer. He was an ESPN radio personality. He may still have his podcast or a show.
Well, he definitely still has a show. Like he's okay.
And he disappeared for a while, I think, to do football or college football or something. So I don't know if that's wrapped up and now he's back. But yeah, it was kind of like, I don't know if Texas was his home state or not, but yeah, he got a lot of fanfare. And I'm just sitting there like, why do I care about this chucklehead? Just can we start, please?
Yeah, he's born in Plum, Pennsylvania, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and that answers that question.
Went to high school in Plum, Pennsylvania, and then college in West Virginia, and then played for the Indianapolis Colts. So yeah, I'm not quite getting the Texas connection, but they love them some Pat McAfee deep in the heart of Texas.
Oh, he saved up for that, didn't he?
Oh, jeez. But anyway, so he came out, and that caused we had to have a whole bunch of yucking it up, which I was like, okay, this thing is already going to run long. Which apparently, I mean, oh my gosh,
and he have some sort of beef or whatever. But anyway.
Yeah, they got some heat. But I was like, do we really need to be spending this time? I mean, I knew this thing was going to run long. I didn't know it was going to run 4 hours.
Imagine being in the crowd though. Like you had to sit there and listen to his music play as he just walked to get to the ring. Like that right there was probably at least a 2-minute, 3-minute affair.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then all the tomfoolery after that.
Well, the thing is, I mean, if it were me getting to my seat in that arena, I would have looked at that entranceway and I would have been like, oh boy, this is going to be a long night. A long night.
Is the Undertaker on the card? I hope not.
Oh, jeez. But then out of the gate, right after McAfee, we get the men's Royal Rumble, which I was surprised, but you were surprised with it. To me, though, after watching a couple of these now since the past couple of years, totally makes sense. Like I think they've blown it before by having the women's Rumble first and then the men's later. Put the men first, and because it's usually the lesser of the two Rumble matches. And I think this was I think it was a good move, and this one was not as bad as some of the men's Rumbles that I've seen in the recent past. But it was still behind the women's, but I was actually pleasantly surprised with this match.
Yeah, and I also don't think like looking back after seeing the whole event, it makes more sense to me now why they did what they did. because when you think about it from a story perspective, and I don't want to get too much into the end of the event because we'll talk at length, but Cody Rhodes winning was kind of like the worst kept secret. You know what I mean? Like there's a story they're trying to tell with him, and you kind of figure this is probably the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
And so the story drama wasn't really there. And so I really feel like they did the right thing putting it first, because, and I'll get in, like, once we start talking about this a little bit more, I'll pull out a few other things I noticed and want to see if you noticed them too. But I feel like, you know, from a story perspective, I don't know that the men's Rumble had a lot of really compelling stories going for it outside of Cody, or, you know, kind of the stories that were developing during the match, which is the things like, you know, Gunther and, you know, McIntyre and Sheamus just kind of, you know, really, really lasting a long time and stuff, among other things. So I get it now. It just, like, growing up with the Royal Rumble, like, that was always the main event. You know, like, and I don't know why. I mean, you and I have done a few of these events. We've seen it not be the last thing and that sort of thing. But I guess I'm just kind of old school that way, that there's a part of me that kind of wishes it was, but also recognizing that I think the reason they did it that way is because the star power and story, you know, depth of storyline just isn't there this year. So,
well, I'll put it this way. I think that the pay-per-view as a whole benefits from having a men's Royal Rumble match and a women's Royal Rumble match, because it automatically cuts down the amount of matches that you can have. So,
yes. Yeah.
And this is partly because I've watched a ton of Brian Zane's Wrestling with Regret classic pay-per-view reviews. And you look back at some of the older Rumbles. Good God. The talent level for the actual Rumble match is atrocious in some of those matches. Like, they are literally throwing out anybody who might still be on the roster, and, like, their big surprises are either people that no one's heard of or returning people who are not that impressive. Yeah. And there's a bunch of them, and then the rest of it is like jobbers and a couple of main event people. I mean, it's not good. This match, I think, was really good in that you didn't have a bunch of BS surprises. You had a couple that were fine. You had the one weird spot, which I actually gathered a little info on before we started recording. And other than that, you had a fairly strong amount of talent. Like, you had a pretty even amount of talent. There was no, like, huge drags on the work in ring. And you actually managed to work in some of those storylines that are already in progress into the match. It all it worked out. Like, they all got those moments. The storylines, of course, didn't take, like, quantum leaps forward, but they managed to make a little progress. They added a little flavor to some of them. And I think they did a great job in terms of, like, not doing the thing I've seen them do in a couple of the classic reviews, where it's like you get, like, one dude in the ring at some points, or, like, two people in the ring at some point in the middle of the Rumble, and it just becomes boring. You know, like, they went a long time without an elimination. Like, I think Miz was the first one out, and he was, like, I think it was like 8 or 9 people in by the time he was eliminated. Like, they kept a decent amount of people in there, and through the first, like, 2/3 of the match, there was actually some really good ring work happening. Like, it wasn't all just like punch kick.
Right.
There was actual moves going on. There was work between the wrestlers going on. It was actually an interesting match instead of just this thing where a bunch of people are laying down. Now, the last third of any kind of match like this gets a little slower, because then you're trying to work to a certain ending. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with this. Like, there was a focus on the actual in-ring work. You know, they did a good job of just giving you a good match that, like with some of the past women's rumbles, where it was like, wow, we're actually talking about some of the storylines that are happening now, and they're happening in the ring. Go figure. Like it doesn't exist in this bubble.
Yeah.
You know, like there's context. So I like that. I thought it was a really it was a good match compared to the last couple that I've seen where I'm like, meh, had moments, but otherwise dragged. Like this didn't feel like it dragged that much, you know, and that's a lot for an hour and 20-minute match.
I would agree. I guess the one thing I might take issue with, and this is one of the points I want to kind of get your thoughts on, is I really struggled through a lot of the match though, with the action and with the way, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I'm not saying like through all 90, 100, 110 minutes of this match, do you have to have snappy, crisp wrestling maneuvers? But like, I felt like throughout, like things just felt like either people were just not in sync. The action just didn't feel crisp at times. It just felt like timing was off. And there were points where I've seen a lot of these Rumble events, and when you have the guys who are staying in for the long haul, of course they powder out and they just kind of take a breather and then they get back into the mix and stuff. It was really bothering me at moments when I'm like looking, and like McIntyre and Sheamus are just standing in the corner, and I'm just like that's not what the Rumble is. I mean, it's like, well, just but standing. I mean, and then later on, I felt like McIntyre was there just to prop Sheamus up. Sheamus was struggling toward the end.
Oh well, yeah.
He definitely.
That happens when you don't get any vitamin D ever.
Oh my God! Like he did not like just. I was impressed when they pulled off the dueling kicks there and stuff, but yeah, toward the end, he was really struggling just to string like just punches and kicks together and stay standing. Like he just looked like he was exhausted and stuff. So it was things like that. Like I have a note, like when Santos Escobar came in, he came in at number 10, and there was a moment where like he and I forget who the other person was, but I think they were going to do a sequence where he got thrown into a corner, and he's just like standing there, and he's like trying to like tell the guy to like do something else, because when the camera flips around, you see that like Gunther's in that corner beating on someone. So it's like you can't whip him into the corner because that disrupts what's going on there. And so it just seemed like there was just some like mechanics to the match that were off a little bit. And at times I just was like, I don't know. I just expected it to be a little bit, it didn't look very professional sometimes. You know what I mean? It just felt
none of these matches do. I mean, it always devolves into a rugby scrum. You've got like 10, 12 people in the ring at one point sometimes. I mean,
I know, but
there's no way
a punch and a kick should look like a punch and a kick, not like a, I'm throwing some, again, I'm not a wrestler. I'm not in the match. I'm not trying to sit here and be overtly critical, but I'm just saying compared with other matches I've seen, those details never really stood out in my head, and last night they seemed to for some reason. So
and I will agree, like some of that, but at the same time, there is an element of that I give. Again, with this match, I give it a lot of leeway because it's not like a tag. It's not even like a tag team match where you can kind of coordinate and you have a feel for it. Like there is so much going on there. Like we were talking a little bit in texting back and forth about like how do you even book something like this? Like how do you or not even book it? Like how do the agents who are running this match manage to work all of that and coordinate everything going on? And I think some of the looseness or some of the maybe sloppiness has to do with the fact that I'm thinking from my perspective, if I'm in the ring there, I'm not focused completely on the person in front of me. I've got my head a little bit on a swivel because you have to be aware of what everything else that's going on around you. And it's not like you do this type of match all the time. This is way more people in the ring than you're used to on a regular basis. So if it were me, I would totally be looking peripheral vision all the time, making sure I wasn't in the way of somebody else who is, tired, not paying attention, whatever. And all of a sudden just have someone slingshot into you and get injured. Like that's how I interpret some of that sloppiness as like, I got to keep my head up and moving around to make sure I don't get clocked inadvertently and screw something up, because you don't want to get injured, but you also don't want to injure somebody else. Like, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. Right.
You know, like, hey, how come this guy blew his knee out? Well, I was in the wrong spot. Well, how come he didn't notice him? I was paying attention to the guy in front of me.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I kind of look at some of that.
Okay.
I mean, I do agree. Like, yeah, totally. I'm not disagreeing that there was a lot more sloppiness. I just think that you have to give it a little more leeway in a match like this.
Oh, maybe something had to do with that long runway. You know, you get a little gas getting down to the ring.
Yeah. I mean, think about having to walk back. You just want to get back and get a bottle of water, and you're like, it's still a quarter of a mile to the I haven't even got. I'm
going to start hitchhiking. Anyone got a golf cart?
It's a quarter of a mile to the curtain, and then I still have to keep walking.
Oh, nice.
They need to have like the bullpen cart from like a baseball stadium. Yes.
I did like so just to touch on a few notes I took. Early on, like you said, Gunther and Sheamus were 1 and 2. Miz was 3. I wrote a note before it happened, looking forward to seeing the Miz get the hell slapped out of him by both men. And literally, as I finished typing it, both of them just oh my gosh, did he get some chest chops, the likes of which he's probably still feeling today.
Yes.
Holy moly. So that was very cool. What else? Oh, I did enjoy Xavier Woods and Chad Gable going into a quasi amateur wrestling match. Right?
Yes, that was amazing.
I thought that was fantastic. That was fantastic.
Gosh, those guys were
that looked good. That looked good when they did
I can't stand Chad Gable's character. I can't deal with the shoosh thing. It pisses me off. And it goes beyond like heel heat into like X-Pac heat. Like it's heading that direction for me. But those are some really cool moments. And I mean, the dude is a hell of a worker. Mm-hmm. I thought the fact that, Gargano's setting up Miz on the ropes and Sheamus walking over and be like, you doing? You stealing my move? Like, I love that moment. That was great. I thought
that was good. That was good.
I thought Kofi doing like just the crossbody for the entering move, like just immediately going top rope and then entering the match with a crossbody was a great touch. I'm like, that actually makes sense. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you do that? It's like the one time that you can't be eliminated if you go up there. I thought that when Ford Montez Ford got eliminated, and I think it was McAfee was like, I got to be honest, I just lost a lot of money.
Okay,
that was great.
that was the thing with McAfee though. Like, setting aside the introduction and the grand entrance of him, he was money on commentary with these guys. I mean, that at some point he calls Cole a booze bag or something like that.
Yes.
I mean, oh my God, it was really funny.
Actually, like, another one of him was when Almost came out and he's like, humans come in that size, huh? It's like very matter of fact.
That was good. That was good. That was.
I was like,
good.
yeah, and of course you're a punter. You're going to say that. But yeah, some great stuff going on here. So we actually broke down this with a few awards to try and rein us in a little bit, which I mean, quite frankly, it's doing a bad job of so far. But we've got some awards to hand out for each of us. Biggest surprise, MVP, LVP, least valuable player, of course, and biggest moment. So what was your biggest surprise from the men's Rumble match?
Basically that Cody and Gunther had basically a mini match after everyone else was eliminated.
That was tremendous. Like that, and that was a great way to do that.
It was very smart, because if they went with Cody immediately getting the elimination on Gunther, they risked the crowd turning on them.
Yeah, because the crowd was not. I think the crowd was happy that Cody won. Mm-hmm. It was definitely not the pop that Rhea got.
Right.
And they were not that into Cody.
Yes,
winning the Rumble.
Well, and some articles I was reading today were kind of talking about how rare it is for the babyface to come in at number 30, because it's like, normally you have the heel who does that, and then if they end up winning, it's like, well, you didn't really earn what you were doing. But I think it was extremely smart of them to have this mini match where Gunther is so now he's been in the ring for like what,
the entire match.
70, 80 minutes at that point. And he's actually going to work on the torn pectoral muscle that has now been repaired and doing those vicious chest slaps and just doing, just some amazing, intelligent wrestling maneuvers. Like when Cody goes to throw him over and he turns his body so that he can actually like grip the rope, appropriately. And just showing great awareness. That was I really enjoyed that, and I think it helped reestablish Cody and help give him some struggle to winning, even though he went against someone who was very who had been in the ring for the entirety of the match. Now I was texting Uncle Todd I think it was toward the end of the event that, thinking about it some more now, they now have this great feud already kind of built, like let's say we go to WrestleMania and Cody wins the world title and he has a few title defenses. At some point, Gunther's going to lose the IC belt and he's going to come for Cody. And now we have a built-in story already. He's like, you may have beaten me in the Rumble, but you beat me when I was 90 minutes in. And now you're going to get me at 100%. And I don't think you can get the job done. And I think that'd be pretty cool, especially if he beats him and then Cody chases him for a little bit. I think that it was, in my mind, a great way to start thinking ahead, for potential, monster opponents for Cody to have to face.
Or do we wind up with Gunther still having the IC title, and you get like a Warrior Hogan sort of deal?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially if Cody only winds up with one of the belts.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even though they said last night was Reigns versus Owens for the undisputed Universal Championship, like, is that truly both belts, or is it just one out of the two? I don't know. I mean,
when there were rumors of Rock maybe coming back, which he of course didn't show up, but I saw there were rumors of what they could do is Reigns, instead of defending it as defending those titles together, that they would split it across, the two nights of the event where he defends the Universal title against one. I'm guessing Cody's going to declare for the World Heavyweight Championship because part of his story is winning the belt that Dusty had won but had to give back.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the lineage goes through that title.
Yeah, because that's the big gold belt, right?
Right.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
I think he's probably going to declare specifically for that one. And then what they could do, because The Rock didn't show up, but obviously with the nuclear heat that's going on right now with Sami Zayn, is maybe you have Sami against Roman for the Universal Championship.
I think it still has to be Kevin. I don't think Sami Zayn. I mean, then again, I don't know. I mean, they were cheering for Sammy Uso last night, as opposed to either
got a
KO
monster
or
pop. And
well, let's get to that because I don't.
Sorry. Yeah. So sorry. My biggest surprise was Cody and Gunther. Going back. See,
we're getting to the last match of the night. We're talking about the first match.
Even though you
Come on, Shmuley.
Even though we set up the guardrails, I'm running all over them. So my biggest surprise was Cody and Gunther having the mini match. What about you, sir?
For me, it was Cody winning.
Yeah.
Just because it seems so obvious.
Yeah.
I was totally not. I just wasn't. I guess I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
Not that he shouldn't have, and he did look rusty. I think, especially when you're comparing him to Gunther, who'd been in there this entire time and was actually looked sharper.
Yeah,
than Cody.
He's got the cardio down. I mean, he
he's a
must have the cardio,
dude.
Yeah.
He is I don't think he's human. I think that's a cyborg.
Well, it was great to see him stand up though, like toe to toe with Lesnar and toe to toe.
Oh,
there's another big guy I'm trying to think of. I think Strowman.
Strowman, I think he stood up too. I think he
looks legit against those guys. He doesn't look.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So I was just gonna say he just looks legit. Compared to like an AJ Styles, who when he stands next to Lesnar because of height, looks a little more diminutive and stuff like that. But with Gunther, it's like none of those guys he looks small against. He looks like he belongs in the conversation with them.
And legit holds his own. That's the thing. And because of that size, he legit holds his own, and you believe it instantly. Yep. So totally. And they utilized him perfectly throughout the match.
Yeah.
Like he even though he showed that he could be he's not this invulnerable, no sell sort of guy.
Right.
He just looked strong the whole time. It was great.
Yep.
And I thought it was some of the stuff at the end, on the way to him, winning. I thought it was kind of nice that, he went for the bionic elbow, didn't get it.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the fact that we got a Shattered Dreams. I was like,
yes.
We're digging out all the oldies now, you know. That was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a surprise to me just because I was like, yeah, like you said before, like the babyface coming out at 30 and winning, like it's too easy. But having that mini match made it work, and the fact that it was his first appearance back,
right,
all contributed to that working the way it did.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to complain about it, but it was a surprise to me, and I think it was either a surprise or it was like we knew that, and that's why people didn't go banana for it at the end,
right?
As Pat Patterson would say, because the crowd reaction was fairly kind of mediocre, for that, But hey, that happens after you're an hour and a half of wrestling without a break. That'll happen. Who do you got for your MVP?
Just for the reasons we just stated, Gunther. I think he comes out of this looking like $1 million. He adds to his legacy. He adds to his, legend a little bit, his lore, just being this really strong, strong competitor who clearly can go for quite a distance. And like I said, I think they're doing the right thing, finding moments like this for guys like him to start positioning him as a real world heavyweight championship sort of contender, where when he gets it, it's now who the heck is going to knock him over, and I think that's the best thing for someone like Cody Rhodes, because once the story that he's talking about finishing gets finished, he's going to do a run for a little bit, and then things are probably going to cool off, and he's going to need to have his whether it be his version of Apollo Creed or his version of Clubber Lang, but he's going to have something.
Well, Gunther's more Russian. Oh my gosh,
Drago. But my point is like someone who knocks him down a peg that he has to go after now, and he has to find something within himself to overcome what is essentially what seems to be this unbeatable thing, and to me that's the best thing for Cody, because he's got to have that foil to go against. I think Reigns can be another foil because of the fact that there's the both of them coming from strong and rich wrestling families,
True.
With their lineage and everything. So anyways, Gunther's my MVP just because I think that this was the right move to build him up in this way, and it wasn't heavy-fisted, it wasn't heavy-handed, it wasn't over the top. It was natural, organic, and he did a phenomenal job and did not look like a guy who was in there for 90 minutes when they had the mini match. Like you said, he was crisp, he was strong, and he looked like he could have gone for another 30, 40 minutes. So, I'm calling Gunther.
Yep, me too. And for all the reasons that you said. Now, what was his gimmick in NXT? Was he Walter?
His name was, so in the independents, he was called Walter, and it was all capitalized. And he carried that into NXT, and then he created with, I think two of the guys are still a part of it, and one of the guys didn't come back, but he had this group called Imperium. So Marcel Barthol and Fabian Eichner, who are now back with him, and then I think there's one other person who's a new member. But I love the gimmick because I think you saw it on his jacket or something like that. But their tagline is the mat is sacred. They are like
it's a great gimmick, like this hardcore, and the fact that you get like the very stark imagery, like like when they come out on Raw, and you didn't get it because you had that tiny little corner entrance, but like when they're on Raw or SmackDown, and it's just like the like bright white background with just Imperium, lettering on it, and that's it. Like it is no nonsense. Like, aha.
Yes.
Okay, these guys are just here to wrestle and kick your ass. Okay.
And I love that he's the IC champ because they're, with Triple H coming, being in charge of creative, they really wanted to, reestablish that belt as the workman's belt.
Yeah.
And he is right now probably one of the top workmen. So,
absolutely.
So, yeah,
yeah.
I wanted to punch McAfee though, at least whenever he would use he would say the ring general. And I'm like, come on, you got to do it the right way. It's the ring general. That's what I want to hear.
The thing that was getting me with McAfee was every time he would talk about the championship match.
Yeah, what was up with that?
I don't know, but I literally want to reach to my screen.
Accent, you know what I mean? It was crazy.
It's like he's trying to be like Jericho or something, like La Champion, and all of a sudden, I'm like, when did you all of a sudden become French Canadian? Like, where are you from? Are you Quebecois? You come down there from a Quebec City. You're going to go down there. You go to the Champion, the championship match, and it's like, stop. From Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Go drive on the Jersey Turnpike or something. Anyway, I don't know what that even means. So who do you got for your LVP?
I think that's the Rona talking.
It probably is.
I put my LVP, and it's probably unfair to pick on him, but Rey Mysterio, just no showing. I know the storyline is Dominic, tomfoolery, ballyhoo, and shenanigans all in effect. But kind of hoping to see Rey Mysterio show up and take the boy to the woodshed. But that was not.
But apparently he got injured, so that was the one thing I did research before we talked.
He legit injured?
Yeah, I guess he got injured at the SmackDown taping, and it might have been bad enough that he was just like couldn't even show up for like some sort of backstage, break in to show like he's injured,
interesting,
and that sort of thing. So it was just they were like, it's just a no-show spot because what else are you going to do? Or they figured like, we just have him come out with Ray's, Dom come out with Ray's mask, and that explains it. And that's kind of what it seemed like they went with, but.
Yeah, I did mention to you, and I was kind of hoping they would do it because there's a lot of rumors right now that he's going to jump. But there's this guy from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's called Switchblade Jay White, and very, very good wrestler. I don't know though that he would get the same. I was kind of hoping he would show up. Like they would have him come in because he's supposed to do a loser leaves the city match, which is really supposed to be his swan song. And then he's heavily rumored to be coming to WWE. But I was kind of hoping he would make a surprise, debut much in the same way that AJ Styles did back in 2017. But I don't know that he would get received the same way. He's been on AEW television, so he's not completely unknown to the American audience. But I also don't know if he carries enough cred to get that kind of reaction, you know what I mean? Like of someone from outside coming in and it being a big deal. So he's been the heavyweight champion, the IWGP heavyweight champion. So he's achieved some very very highly credentialed things. But I also just don't know if the WWE audience is as familiar. And I just thought it would have been kind of cool to plug him into that slot. But oh well.
Yeah, I think
Corbin's.
Oh, well, gosh. How many? Corbin's got to have like 9 lives. Either that or some pictures of somebody with a goat. I don't know what it is, but he's got some info to be hanging around this long,
Oh, man.
You just know. Not even X-Pac. He would. That dude would mortgage his future for X-Pac heat. Any kind of a reaction, I think, would be good for him. Yeah. Which actually, so that is my LVP is Baron Corbin, a guy who basically came down, got F5'd. And granted, the sequence was awesome. Because he got F5'd by Brock Lesnar before he even gets into the match. And then just lays there, much like the little brother from A Christmas Story. It's his only defense is to lay there like a slug. And then Seth Rollins comes down, does his whole 10-minute entrance because, he has to get to that part in the song where everyone can sing along. And with the ramp that they had last night, I'm pretty sure that happened twice.
Yeah.
The song managed to get through that segment twice.
Yep.
And Rollins gets down there and he just sees him there laying there the hell?
I thought he was going to stomp him at first because when you see Corbin, he was in position.
Oh yeah,
and then I thought he was just going to run up and just nail. Like Corbin was going to be like his gimmick was going to be just getting like nailed by the next like 4 people. You know what I mean?
Which I like. But that's a good one. I would have been fine with that. But I like the fact that he like Rollins just looks up and asks, like, kind of just gestures everyone in the ring, like, clear out, make some room, tosses him in, follows him in, and then immediately pitches him over the top rope. Like, just let me take out the trash now.
Yeah.
I thought that, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But I mean, Baron, you barely worked last night. You probably shouldn't, like your payout was a cheeseburger at catering. That was it,
Jeez. Oh, that's rough. That's
well,
rough.
pal, you really didn't even break a sweat, did you?
Oh man.
I mean, I guess he did break a sweat because that's a long way to walk before just to get F5'd, honestly.
Yeah,
that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it led to a good moment. But Baron Corbin, least valuable player, easily.
Indeed.
What'd you have for your biggest moment of the Rumble match?
It's got to be the midair collision of Ricochet and Logan Paul. I wasn't quite sure what they were going to be doing because Logan Paul did that great buckshot lariat where he does kind of the flip over the rope and then he like clotheslines the guy. So I didn't know if he was going to go for that and Ricochet was doing something else. But when they just both like as high as they both got. That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
And the fact, that was a solid impact. Like, because it's like you're coordinating at some point, but like you want to make sure you don't come up short.
Right.
And so, and in essence, you're basically both trying to catch each other too. So it's like, there's no way to like slow down in midair as a smack. I was like,
body in motion stays in motion.
Thank goodness.
Good old physics.
Thank goodness no one asked me to do that. And you know what? I got to say, just on a side note for Ricochet, him and Braun Strowman, man.
Yeah.
I am so digging kind of like that dynamic. That is great. And especially like when Ricochet has to like jump a country mile to like give him a high five.
Yes.
It makes me giggle.
I did have a couple notes too on just Ricochet in general. Just I'm just floored always when I watch him, just how, again, it's a Gorilla Monsoon, statement or it's a statement that was applied to Jeff Hardy, poetry in motion, like he is just so in control of his body when he does things and is just such an amazing performer.
He is CGI and wires without CGI and wires.
I mean, it's really just remarkable to see him work. And since you mentioned Strowman too, just real quick, I mean, I thought Strowman looked like $1 million. Like
everybody, here's the thing. Here is the thing. Like everybody looks like $1 million. Everybody come out of this thing stronger than except for Baron Corbin, but you know what? F him. Everybody came out stronger. Like they managed to get everybody over.
No, but I meant physically looks like $1 million. Like I knew he had trimmed down a lot, but when he came in and was going toe to toe with almost, right?
Almost, sir. Yeah, whatever.
Almost. No, I just was like, dang, this guy is. I mean, he looks legit, and just I just really haven't watched a lot of SmackDown, which I think is the show he's on. SmackDown, maybe wrong.
I think so. Yeah, because they did their World Cup thing.
Yeah. So anyway, I was just impressed. But yes, to your point, also in terms of coming out of the Rumble looking good, yes.
Although I will say, like. There was a couple times, like at least once when because now they're kind of like a tag team sort of situation, but Strowman using Ricochet as like a weapon.
Yes, that was fantastic.
But not the best use. However, that was earlier in the Rumble when McIntyre used Gargano and slingshotted him into Gable.
Yeah,
it's just like picked Gargano. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hammer this guy onto this guy. I was like, you know what? That's pretty nifty right there. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great and I don't care. I know Logan Paul, there's a lot of things said about him. I don't know. I don't care. I really didn't care about him much in the match until all of a sudden that happened. And I'm like, what the hell did I just witness?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the holy moment of the night almost, really.
Yeah, it really was. And what about your moment?
I'm going to go with Lashley eliminating Lesnar. Because you just didn't you don't expect to see Lesnar come in and get eliminated that quickly. Like he was in there for like what, 3 minutes, something like that. Like not that long.
He was starting to clean house.
Oh yeah, I mean when he came in, that oh my gosh, the one that I noted down was basically picking up Escobar for a fireman's carry, and then just using that to throw him out of the ring.
Yeah.
Because Escobar is, I mean, he's not a huge guy, but he's not a little guy either.
No.
And just pitching the guy like nothing.
No.
And that was crazy. And then just the fact that the pop that Lashley got for eliminating Lesnar kind of caught me off guard, blew me away.
It honestly reminded me when McIntyre did it. You know, when McIntyre came in and I forget the name of his kick. It's not the Bro kick, but when he hit when he hit his finisher and knocked him out of the ring, I mean, the place went crazy. Yeah. And I think that was actually just before the pandemic started, because then he won the title later in March in the empty arena.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. Lashley eliminating him because Lesnar is so vicious that you expect him to be in there for a long time and you know, really do a lot of damage and be probably one of the finalists, if not the winner. And so yeah, like they do a nice job, or have done a nice job last few years of, you know, finding ways to still have him do his beast mode, but at the same time, you know, take the L, you know, over the rope and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Which also, again, the way that they do this, tying it into like past stories, current stories, and the way that they did it, they still managed to let Lesnar look strong. Like he came out and he had his temper tantrum on the outside,
which looked legit, by the way. Like when he took the ref and threw him over, I'm like, dude, that guy's like snapping.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like they managed to do that. They made him look strong in that and had him kind of snap and lose his cool and all that. And you know, and then even when they then take out then when Lashley gets eliminated, it's Rollins eliminating Lashley. Yeah. Like you can tie that back. So I'm like, it was just done so well, which again is great when you don't have like 15 jobbers going in there that who cares who gets eliminated. Like a lot of the you know, a decent amount of eliminations had something to do with something that was going on or had gone on, or there was kind of a relationship there, which is why I'm like, everybody comes out of this thing looking really good. Like they got moved forward. I'm like, oh my gosh, again, it's nice to have somebody in charge of this thing creatively. Dear God, I hope so. Yeah. Who, you know, actually is out for the business and focusing on the work and what fans kind of are there for, rather than, all right, pal, we're going to do this thing. And, you know, it's like, you still manage to work in like the other, like, yeah, you can still have the social media guy come in. You can still have your returning legend like Booker T. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's great. And then they see him walk down. And at first I'm like, Booker T looks great. And then I see him walking a distance and I'm like, oh boy, actually I changed my mind. He looks rickety. He looks rickety. He doesn't look like he's in rough shape.
I didn't notice he's until
bow-legged and
he tried climbing into the ring, and then you're starting to see, okay, this is like, I remember seeing that with like Harley Race and others, like the guys end up with some probably hip damage and that sort of thing, and they end up walking kind of. When
he went for the spinneroonie, I was like, I was literally like, God, just please let him be able to do it. Don't let him embarrass himself. Just please let him be able to get around on it. And he did. I was like, okay, good. Now get him out.
Yeah.
Get him out before he starts looking real bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything just kind of worked out. It was great. But yeah, Lashley eliminating Lesnar was such a big moment because of the pop.
Yeah.
It was deafening. I was like, oh my gosh, Lashley is way more over than I thought.
Oh yeah.
Great. I'm happy because I'm like, that's a Lashley versus Lesnar. That was one of your, you know, calling it for WrestleMania. I'll watch that match.
That'd be
oh my gosh, that's like next level hoss fight. Like you're gonna have to come up with a new name for that. That's beyond a hoss fight. That's like a rhinoceros.
Business isn't just picking up, ladies and gentlemen.
Business is like, you know, it's in a new business. All right, so we now spent like we've spent as much time talking about that match as it actually took for the match to take place.
Those guardrails really helped, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. So what was your rating for this?
I went with 3.5 stars. Like I mentioned earlier, I was a little underwhelmed with some of the action, and I'm noticing in my notes one point I didn't bring up, but I just want to mention real quick is I think the other thing that really bothered me is there was a lot of finishers being nailed and guys almost getting up right after. And I get it. I get they're in that match. I get the action has to move along, but it's not a finisher if you're still conscious. I mean, I'm looking at this and and actually, sadly, Gunther is part of the problem here when he took Crossroads at the end, and again he's getting up because of what is to come.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like you didn't even struggle with it.
No,
like this is supposed to be Rhodes' way of knocking you out. It's like, come on.
It should literally be like, out of the 30 people in there, okay, who are the 10 who are going to get to use their finisher?
Right.
And that's it.
But it wasn't just Rhodes. Like there was a few times people hit their finishers, and I think they were so focused on what was to come next that the selling of it just wasn't there. And I'm like, come on now. So anyways,
and it's the type of match.
Great selling, but otherwise
you know what? Give him 2 cheeseburgers. He deserves it.
3.5 stars though is
a double.
Double.
And I will also give it a 3.5 stars. And not because I didn't think it was I thought it was bad or whatever. It's just like, I think that's kind of like, that is for a Royal Rumble match that is essentially a rugby scrum that's going to be sloppy, that's going to have a lot of stuff going on. Like 3.5 it translates to about a 4.5 for what a regular match would be. Like that's a really good Rumble match.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
All right.
And from there, we then, I'm sure we had like 10 commercials after that, because I think I managed to hit the bathroom, get a snack, get another beer. Like I managed, I probably could have done laundry, honestly. But then we came back for the pitch black match.
The Mountain Dew pitch black match.
Yeah, whatever. They're not paying my ass, so I'm not mentioning that. Which I was very concerned about, because when the match started out, like they rung the bell, or right before the match, like nothing was different. I'm like, I thought this was going to be, is it just literally sponsored by Mountain Dew and that's it? Yeah. And then they went with a black light thing, and I was like, oh, okay, gotcha.
Which admittedly looked a lot better than one of the other gimmicks they tried when he was the Fiend, which was that weird,
the red lighting. Yeah. You could see better.
I thought that was much, much better.
Yeah, although I still was like, are we looking for like blood stains? Are we checking a hotel room?
McAfee had the best line where he's like, well, I'm glad I got my pants cleaned.
Yeah, actually, I thought the best one was the Alamo Dome feels like the back of a Spencer's Gifts. Which I was like, that's great, because that is, you have to be of a certain age to get that joke, because I don't know if Spencer's Gifts is open anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to be at a certain age to know like the back end of the Spencer's Gift, where it's essentially turned into like a 1970s head shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like where the weed dealer hung out, and that's, oh my gosh, but it was much better to see. So this was Bray Wyatt's first match.
Yeah.
Back.
He's been around since SummerSlam, but it's just been pure story.
I know, which is like, it's half a year.
Yeah.
You've managed to go,
It's
which
crazy.
I mean, it says something that he's still this over, that he still gets this much of a reaction after not wrestling for 6 months.
Yeah.
Being back, but still not wrestling, and that he would have like main event promos on shows and no one's upset.
Yeah.
So there is this thing about this dude. LA Knight, I got to admit, when they first started this whole thing, I didn't get it, because I was like, I don't even know who the hell this guy is. I'm like, is this like the Brooklyn Brawlers, like, kid is now old enough to be a wrestler, and well, we can't have him from Brooklyn, so he's from LA. He's a West Coast. I don't know. I had no idea who the hell LA Knight was, but I got to say, dude's got some killer intro music.
Yes.
Like that is some awesome intro music. And the dude
he's an incredible promo.
Yeah, he does. I've warmed up on the guy.
Yeah.
I will say, okay, Blacklight. It took me Blacklight at first. I didn't like it. I warmed up to it, much like LA Knight. But when they went to like the commentary table spot, and you had the glow confetti.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
I mean, it just took me out of the match so much.
Yeah.
I was like, that's just lame. whose idea was that? Was that like Vince's one creative input? Like he managed to sneak that in under the wire? Was Triple H back at Gorilla going, oh God,
he did it.
I thought I told you, don't let Vince wander around. We got to have, it's like a silver alert. We got to keep tabs on him. But I mean, the match was a thing. I mean, it was a thing, right?
I was kind of disappointed because I was hoping it would be a little bit more back and forth. I was hoping it wasn't going to be just the Wyatt squash to establish himself sort of thing.
Well, it seemed like it was going back and forth a little bit, but then
not very much though.
The end just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like someone told him, like, oh, by the way, you had 10 minutes, now you got 5.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah,
it was weird.
I did really like the effect though, as being another way of Bray kind of, doing a Fiend-like sort of thing where when the black light went out, like he comes down and he just has what looks to be very basic makeup on.
Yeah.
And then when the lights flip and now you see that there's all this design on his arms, on his face. He has these contacts that are making his eyes look demonic. It was really, I mean, the effects part of it was, I thought, really well done. This is like one of the times when they went to do something different for a match, and I actually really liked it. I thought when LA Knight grabbed the kendo stick, and I'm like literally my note is, oh, well, the glowing lightsaber is a cool effect. So
that was interesting. It does make you wonder, like, how do all those goodies always end up randomly underneath a WWE ring?
Yes.
It's one of life's great mysteries.
And I don't know if you caught it, but we did have what I'm calling it this. I don't know if Graves meant to do this, but we did have a Tombstone reference last night.
We did?
Graves saying, LA Knight, you called down the thunder.
I missed that. I remember it now that you've mentioned that. Oh. Damn, I didn't catch that in progress.
When I heard that, my ears perked up, and I'm just like, let's have a spelling contest.
Yeah. He was like Clanton to
yeah. Oh.
Law dog. But yeah, and then of course, once then Bray put on the mask, because we couldn't just have the Bray coming down and then Blacklight Bray. Then we had to have mask Blacklight Bray, which try and say that 3 times fast. I don't even know what the hell I almost just said trying to get there. But then that turned on the no-sell switch. They brawl through the crowd. We get a mandible. And then, of course, we get Uncle Howdy or Jeff Hardy. I don't know who, plummeting off of something.
Yeah.
And then explosions. And at the end, I was basically like, the hell did I just watch?
Yeah. Like the aftermatch segment, I wasn't quite sure what they were trying to do there.
Yeah. I don't get it. It
would have been enough. I probably would have, like, I think what was my rating on this was I could have come up a little bit from my rating, but I just felt like it was just such a one-sided match. I really felt, LA Knight has been doing, like, I've watched all the promos leading up to this between him, all the interview segments between him and Wyatt, and he's been doing a fantastic job, kind of being this different foil for Wyatt, where he's not, like, I mean, yeah, there are times when he's freaked out by stuff, but he is like getting one over on him every now and then, and he's playing the cocky heel, and he's like, I'm not going to let the blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to fall victim, whatever. So I was hoping it would be a little more of a contest. And the fact that it wasn't is the thing that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit with the whole thing. But I thought the concept was interesting. The way they did it was interesting. I wouldn't mind if they did it again, because it just has kind of a really, it's a very cool visual effect.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be his new thing. I think the tough thing is that you're dealing with, again, the same thing with Cody Rhodes. First match back.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he's done house shows or anything. I'm guessing not, because I don't know how easy that is to do now with social media, with people going around and tracking this stuff. Can you even take a guy like Bray Wyatt and let him go out and do some house shows and do some matches at house shows to get his timing back, to get in front of a crowd, to get a little bit of that experience. I think it's tough now where it seems like people have to return and they're immediately in front of either a television audience or a pay-per-view audience. Yep. And to go from like, oh, hey, I've done plenty of ring work. Yeah. At the Performance Center down in Florida in front of nobody. And you're going from that to 50,000 people. I don't care if you've done it or not, for, years or whatever. It's been a long time since you've done it. Like I'll put it in this perspective. I've played in bands now for several years. I've played in front of hundreds of people on a weekly basis for years. It's been a while since I've done that. And I'm getting ready to have a gig for the first time in quite a long time in front of a fairly decent audience. I've done it plenty of times, but it's a new it's still a hump to get over doing it for the first time in a while.
Right.
And to all of a sudden have to do that on a pay-per-view when the stakes are already, your stakes are high because of just the buildup of the character and what the buildup you've done. Good. Yeah. That's tough. Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why they threw kind of everything in the kitchen sink at this. And unfortunately, it just didn't match up to the great promo work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you gave it 2 stars. I gave it 2.5 stars. Like I gave him, and I feel like I'm being generous.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Going down the middle on this one. I feel like I'm the one, you're the one healing it up on this. I'm the one trying to like give him, like, I'm the one trying to provide perspective on all these matches. Like, when did we switch here?
Part of me wonders too if maybe the reason we saw such a lopsided match, and maybe this is the limitation of this style of match, is as I was thinking about it, we never really saw LA Knight put him in a hold or anything like that. And I'm wondering if part of that is if they had a real match and the match progressed and they get sweaty, you know what I mean? Like if you start seeing like Wyatt's face paint is now on LA Knight's body, you know what I mean? Like it starts to look weird and it kind of loses its like
good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Like I'm wondering if maybe they did it this way is because the meat of it was the visual impact. Like here he is. Here's the thing that has come through the door that he warned him about. And now, moving forward, he's going to have the mask and, so on and so forth. But it just kind of occurred to me as you were talking. I'm like, I wonder if maybe that's why they did it, because if the match went on and, with sweat and, how face paint normally falls off as the match goes on and that sort of thing, if it just would have started losing its visual, luster. So.
Excellent point. I hadn't thought about that, but it makes total sense. I think that's
still
probably
2 stars.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm not bumping him any more than that. I feel like I gave him almost a full star because my first inclination was like, as a match and going off of the promo work, like it's a 1.5 stars. But I'm trying to give him a little bit extra because I'm like, well, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of moving pieces. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which now brings us to match 3. Yes, we are 4.5 hours into our analysis of this pay-per-view, and we've only made it to match 3. This was a Raw Women's Championship match with Bianca Belair defending against Alexa Bliss. Wow. This one was a match.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it was more of a match than the match before. Again, there was like a 20-minute turn. It was essentially like going to this pay-per-view was like going to a festival show where there's like 10 bands playing, but you have like that 20-minute changeover in between each band. So then they had to change out the mat. They had to do whatever they had to do, clean up Uncle Howdy's splattered corpse from the back side area. I don't know what they had to do. The crispy critter corpse of LA Knight from all those explosions.
Yeah,
I don't know. Gosh,
where are you going with this, sir?
Still so friggin' weird. I don't know what to do about that. Anyways,
blame the Rona.
So again, I'll take that. So this one right here, and we talked about this a little bit. I have no notes for this match.
I have no notes for this. Like, honestly, there was very little to note.
Yeah, it wasn't that it was the note that I have, like the summation I have, it was a decent match, but it was more about Bliss and her character development than anything to do with Bianca, which says a lot about Bianca Belair, that she can go out, have a pay-per-view match, title defense, and is strong enough that she can have a match where it doesn't have to be about her.
Yeah.
People are still going to tune in to see her tomorrow night. People are still going to cheer for her. People are still going to love her character. It was just a matter of like Alexa Bliss managing to have a match with her and move and character development. That's all it was. And, you know, I mean, it says a lot about Bianca Belair, and also says a lot about the current creative regime and how they're treating her, as opposed to Vince jobbing her out to Becky Lynch just because, hey, Beck's back. We're going to take the strongest women's championship that everyone loves, and we're going to job her out in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, for no good reason.
It's interesting to see both championship matches and how story really delineates the two of them in a very major way. Like, you know, and we'll get into Reigns and Owens in a little bit here, but there was no big fight feel to this. There was no. Like, I can't quite put my finger on it from a story perspective. Like, there was a build toward this, but to your point, it was so anchored to Wyatt and the Uncle Howdy thing and all this sort of stuff that you really didn't think Bliss had a chance. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't like, I mean, at least when Shotzi was, you know, at Survivor Series, when we were talking about the Shotzi, oh God, what's her name? Not Ripley, Ronda Rousey match.
Yeah.
You know, there was some concrete, there was some good back and forth that was going on, but there were some, you know, just technical glitches and things that just kind of took away from the match. But like this one, it's like, I'm watching this and I'm like, I know Bliss isn't going to win. So like, I'm not invested at all. Like I have no, but going into Reigns Owens, like there's an outside chance he could win because, you know, I've been reading rumors that, you know, they're thinking about at some point breaking the belts up again, and Reigns, you know, probably, you know, his reign is going to come to an end soon. So, so it'd be kind of interesting to do with Owens or something like that. But there was such a story going into that match that just this one didn't have, and I just wasn't invested at all, and I just didn't care. I mean,
well, yeah, but you also have to look at like how much the character of Reigns has been built up, and they were and in both ways, it's a way of using the champion. It's a way of using what you've the cachet that you've put, the investment you've put into the champion and the championship, and utilizing it for a purpose. They can't do the same thing that they did with Reigns with Bianca Belair because they have not invested as much in her.
Right.
But, and also because I don't know that they really, I think that they're still trying to sort things out now that they've got the championship off Rousey, and they're still trying to set up how they want all these things to land in the women's division. But I mean, they're still trying to utilize the champion to give a platform for Bliss to move her character.
Yeah.
You know, even though she didn't win, she still looked pretty strong in the match. She didn't, I mean, she didn't, I mean, come on. I mean, comparatively speaking, I mean, she's given up like 1.5 feet to Bianca into like, you know, 85 pounds of muscle. I mean, but still she looked pretty damn strong against someone who quite honestly looked like just out of hand should whip her ass.
Yeah.
I mean, she did well there and then managed to get in some character development. To me, it's a win. It's not it's not going to, and here I'm using my stone cold, you know, hands up posture. Like I ain't going to give it a 5-star, you know, but it was utilizing the prestige of the champion to provide, in this case, not necessarily put them over, but to provide a stage. Like it justified her title shot, justified her being on the same pay-per-view right after Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy and all that, if that's where you're going. You know, I guess that's where I'm trying to drive with this thing.
I see. I don't know. I like I said, it just some matches can kind of pull themselves out of the fact that they don't have a deep story, but this just wasn't one of them. And there was no motivation I felt on Bliss's part to really truly win the belt. To your point, you've said it. This was all about developing her character. So this was just a stop along this journey. And
yes, it was how the match felt. It was like, you know, point B on the journey to point Z.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
Well, I gave this one 1.5 stars because I just was like, ugh.
totally justified. I gave it 2 mostly because I think Alexa Bliss actually did look pretty strong in the match. I think it ain't nothing that you're going to write home about or remember, but compared to some of the crap that has worked its way onto WWE pay-per-views in the past, still looks pretty good by those standards. I mean, you know, so I'll give it 2 stars. Mostly because, like I said, I think you look at those 2 people lined up next across the ring from each other, and you're like, Bianca going to whip her ass in short order. Yeah. And she hung in strong and managed to look kind of tough and kind of started getting a little bit more of that viciousness, like they commented about 8 times on commentary about, but you know, nothing too spectacular. Which then, again, 15 minutes of Cricket Mobile commercials later, we got to the Women's Rumble match. Which is match number 4, the semi-main event of the evening, and deservedly so. I think so. This one was interesting. We started off with, we didn't list this for the men's Rumble, I don't think, but it was Gunther and Sheamus were 1 and 2. And Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan were 1 and 2 to start off the women's Rumble match. And man, very interesting that they went very similar directions with men's and women's Rumble in terms of like the original pairing being in for an extraordinarily long time. And actually in this case, Morgan was until the end, wasn't she?
She was one of the last 5, at least in the last 5, I thought.
And I mean, just really great, and the way that they
I'm sorry, Morgan was in the final 3. She was the one that got the Great Muta spit on her. That's right. Sorry,
I couldn't find the, because I noted the last 3 or 4 for both of the matches, and I couldn't find my note for that, and I just found it after you said that. But yeah, I thought it was great booking. I will say right now, I'm like totally almost to a Katie Sackhoff degree in the bag for Rhea Ripley. Fantastic performer, and I'm just so like, her character just is like, she is the Loki of the WWE right now. And to the point where I've seen like videos like fans have had where at like house shows where they don't have the nice barricades, they literally have like the old bike rack barricades, and she'll get knocked out of the ring. And so she's like laying half under the barricade, and she's like reaching under and untying people's shoes in the front row. I'm like, is anybody having more fun than her? Really? You know? But I'm just so in on her character, and the fact that she is so physically imposing and just has that like a confidence to an unreal degree in herself. And they utilized her in a very similar way to Gunther, in the fact that like anytime they needed someone to look strong in the match, they paired them up with Ripley, let Ripley do a couple things or get a move on her, and then she could go and rest, that sort of thing. Like they utilized her really well throughout the match. And it just overall, like this match, once again, just like continued storylines, had some great moments. There were some things that made me just giggle, because I think we can finally say at this point, and it's going to have its own ESPN 30 for 30 at some point. The longest running rivalry in sports right now has to be what? Bailey and Michael Cole? Like, what is going on with this? Like, is it a single white female sort of thing? Is it a single white commentator sort of thing? I don't know. I'm kind of scared to know. But there's always, like, Bailey always has something to say to Michael Cole. And it's delightful. It is delightful.
It's the gimmick.
Tegan Knox, I just felt this deserved a mention when she was delivering her punches and was like, war. It sounded like Jaguar with like the British accent, like the Jaguar sort of thing.
Yes. I
was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, seriously. But yeah, oh my gosh, when what's her name? I forget her first name. Rodriguez. Is it Raquel Rodriguez?
Raquel Rodriguez. Yeah.
When Graves' comment about her, oh my gosh, being related to 40% of the people at the Alamo Dome, I was like, it instantly flashed into like the commentator in Rocky, I think 2, when Rocky's coming down,
you
he's
said
like,
that, not me.
yeah, he's like, I don't think seen so many Italians in my entire life, and he's like, you said that. And I'm like, it immediately made me think of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody's getting pulled into the office afterwards. Yeah. Someone's gonna be like, someone's gonna have to go into Triple H's office, like, hey, Paul wants to talk to you. I know exactly what this is about.
Can't be saying things like that.
just Triple H sitting there with a bottle of water, just like, Corey, you can't be saying that on the mic. Oh my gosh. The one that I thought I thought Lacey Evans. I don't know about you. I thought Lacey Evans looked really strong. Doing the camel clutch, like holding, I forget who it was, like up off their feet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like the first time I've seen Lacey Evans, where I'm like, okay, badass. I'm anxious to see where this goes, because I've seen a couple of the training montage bits on shows, and I'm like, oh god, this could be so stupid. Kind of buying into it. I was pleasantly surprised, like kind of seeing that character moving in a right direction was nice. As an example of the opposite, Indy, I don't know what
Hartwell.
Indy Hartwell. Oh God, love her. Coming in at number 27, she looked overwhelmed coming to the curtain.
Yeah,
I literally thought she was going to throw up. I felt so bad for her because I was like, she might pass out.
Yeah,
I don't know. She just looked like, and then she got in the ring and she looked okay, but it was still very much a sort of like, she kind of just looked unsteady, you know?
Hey, she eliminated Tony's niece, Zoe Stark.
That was weird, because I thought Zoe was going to be in there towards the end, because I mean, I have no idea who she is. She came in and she looks like the real deal. Like she's one of those people that you see, and sort of like Gunter, like you're like, I buy that you're a badass. Like you just look like a very solid human being that could kick my ass within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is not saying something for a mid-40s dude who, you know, 2 bad knees and ankles, but still, you know, it's kind of a measure of some sort. What else was there? There was you and Nikki Cross is the Ultimate Warrior, the sawed-off Ultimate Warrior.
Seriously,
I guess
she looked like the Ultimate Warrior, hauling all the way down this long runway and turn a corner. It's like, gosh, I still got a quarter mile to go.
Oh my God! Didn't even take her coat off for like till she was like 2 minutes into the match.
Then she gets in the ring and is just going house on everyone, and I'm just watching her, like waiting to see when she's gonna gas out. You know, like is she gonna fall over from exhaustion after all this?
That right there is like someone who ought to get a bonus just for like, dude, you did the cardio. Like how many like bikes and treadmills have you worn out in hotel gyms across the United States over the last 6 months?
Yeah.
Dear sweet God.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then of course, you know, which neither one of us have this one, so I'll throw it out there. The Michelle McCool coming out of the front row at number 26 was interesting.
I wrote, nice touch having McCool go from mom into participant.
Yes, and I thought it was great how she's like still like in total mom attire. Like she's got the comfy pants and the Uggs. I'm like, right on. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize how tall she was though.
Yeah.
Like as she was matching up against some of these ladies, I'm like, wow, she is a statuesque, much more statuesque than I thought. Because I mean, you see some of, I mean, especially who was the young kid who came in? She's another one who's a San Antonio local. Perez.
Oh, Roxanne Perez.
She, number one, right off the bat, hell of a performer, but good sweet Lord, I was like, she is not tall. Like what's, and again, I'm not tall either. These are my people. Trust me, I'm right there with them. But I was like, oh my gosh, she's like tiny compared to some, like she's like Nikki Cross height, you know? But yeah, Michelle McCool, I was like, I had no idea she was that tall. I guess it's because when you're standing next to your, the Undertaker, you kind of look short. Everyone does. Most people do. Even as I'm sure he's shrunk a little bit with age, and spine compression. spine compression like Mick Foley. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Anyway, so let's get into some of our awards here. Who do you got for the biggest surprise?
Well, might I run through a few of my notes for a moment?
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
That's you've covered a few of them, but I just wanted to bring up a few things. So yeah, I was impressed with Roxanne Perez. I thought she came in and just looked very impressive, compared to others. I like the sequence or the segment we went through where Damage Control was eliminating folks left, right, and center, and kind of healing it up and getting all the just getting the boos and getting people all fired up about it. Zia Lee was another one. She came down and she looked impressive. Her kicks looked really stiff and very real. This is where I think the women's match started to elevate from the men's matches. I felt a lot of the women were just landing their shots and things looked. It looked like the action I would expect. Like things did not stand out to me.
Well, that's one of the things with women's Rumble matches, and I think just women's matches in general. I don't know. I'm trying not to read a lot into this because I know that women have kind of arrived in WWE a while ago now. It's not like this is brand new. Like there's no longer a Divas champion. That we're out of that era. It is like legit. The women are allowed to be true like athletes. But man, they are trying. It seems sometimes a lot harder, at least in the past. And I feel like the guys have kind of caught up in some of these matches like, oh crap, we're going to get our butt blown off stage.
Yeah.
If we don't put in some effort, because these ladies are coming out and they're letting it all hang out.
Yeah.
It's almost like the opening band comes out and decides that they're going to smoke the headliner off the stage.
Right.
But yeah, no, I would agree. Like, yeah, in some cases, I think because they had a much higher NXT content level, there was a lot of folks out there who were like, I got something to prove. I am fighting for a spot.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like they're not just out there trying to keep their spot. They're like, I'm trying to get a spot.
Yeah. Yeah. When Becky Lynch entered, she's another one. When she came in, just a lot of her stuff looked really crisp, really good. I made a note, she really brought the fire, and I felt, like that was kind of missing, from the men's Rumble, as well as, at least in parts of the early going of the women's Rumble too. I think, as we got to the midpoint, it really started to get really good. Piper Niven, who was for the former Dewdrop, and we had to listen to McAfee, Graves, and Cole do some sort of Three Stooges limerick on Do and Drop while saying Piper Niven about 12 or 13 times. So
how long ago did they change her gimmick from Dewdrop to Piper Niven? Was this her big comeback here?
I think the reason they were saying it this many times is this is the change. Like she was Dewdrop, she disappeared, I think, with an injury for a period of time. I don't have the exact time frame, but so this was her return, and I think they used that as a time to do a reset on her character and flip her into the Piper Niven. So I was just like, oh boy.
Was she billed from because they billed her from Glasgow?
Yeah.
Did they always bill her from Glasgow?
I think so.
Okay,
I think so. With Zelina coming down and having to listen to Cole explain how she was dressed up like a Street Fighter character from this movie or game she's going to be in.
And then they started doing this Street Fighter sound effect. I wanted to, again, there was one or two times I wanted to reach through my TV screen and bang Graves and McAfee's heads together and catch Cole in the middle, because why not?
Yeah. And then I think as we run through these other things, we'll get into this, but just, I think toward the end, after Nia Jax came in, I think I just have a lot of notes on really good eliminations, from Rodriguez eliminating Evans, Ripley eliminating McCool was really well done. Piper Niven eliminating Mia Yim. I mean, they're just, I didn't say specifically why it was good. I just remember when I saw it, it was just impressive what they did. And so, so just all around, I really feel from like the midpoint of the match on, it was like really solid and a lot of really good action. So what, sir, was your biggest surprise?
Asuka.
Yeah.
Just and not because like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I'd ever see Asuka again. It was just because of the pop.
Yeah.
Like that was one of those, and the thing is, like, there was so much genuine emotion in these pops.
Yeah.
That's what made it wasn't just like an artificial sort of like, oh, they knew this is a time to cheer. Like legit, like emotional explosion at those moments. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize Asuka was that over. But yeah, that was a huge surprise for me. And also seemed like, and she's always been good. Always been really good, always been really crisp. It seemed like it went up another level in terms of like just like she was surgical.
Yep.
In the stuff she was doing out there. Like, oh my gosh. I would hate to be in that locker room. Like, okay, so now I got to pull it up even further to meet up to, because she decided to find a 6th gear. Oh, goody.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was mine as well. Was not so much the pop, but just her return. Because there wasn't really anything in some of the wrestling websites I hit normally for news and stuff. There just wasn't really a mention of her anywhere, and so I know she kind of went back to Japan for a period. She was going. What I had read was the rumor, and I think this kind of came out in the face paint we saw. Is I think she's bringing a character that she played back in Japan into her Asuka character here in WWE now, where it's supposed to be more of a heelish character, but as we saw, she was kind of playing the baby face still. So I'm wondering if we'll start to see that transition in the coming weeks here.
Yeah. Who do you got for your MVP?
Oh, hands down, Rhea Ripley. I mean,
me too.
Just looked impressive all around. Went the distance, won it all, and
dislocated her knee early on.
Oh yeah, that was ridiculous. So yeah, she just phenomenal. Just a phenomenal athlete, and she had a very strong showing, and just had a lot of contributed to a lot of memorable parts of it. Yeah, so she was mine.
Did you watch the press conference afterwards?
I did, but I only saw the parts I saw Wyatt, I saw Cody, and I saw Triple H, and that was
okay. Because I didn't see. I stopped watching around Cody. Like I just kind of it was getting late anyways.
Yeah, it was.
But Rhea, again, like she is one of those people. She has it. She has that charisma. Like even talking to the reporters, half out of character, just was still like one of those people who you're like, yeah, you have whatever that extra thing is,
Yeah.
But yeah, just and then hearing her talk about like, oh yeah, my knee dislocated, and then it came back in, and I'm just I'm laying there like, really?
Uncle Todd got the willies.
Oh gosh.
Yep.
All right, who do you got for your LVP?
Not surprisingly, Nia Jax coming back, because I thought you were apropos in your text to me when you were like, well, did somebody order an injury?
Yeah. Like, have we had too many healthy people around? Did we need to bring her back?
But I got to tell you, it was a really cool visual to see all the women kind of circle around her and then just close in on her and just pummel her. It was well, and then it was equally impressive when she did the old, kind of Hulk smash, sort of thing where she kind of threw them all off.
They all explode off her. Yeah, that was. Yeah. I mean, it's such but they've done that before with her.
Yeah,
I think that happens like every time she's in the Rumble. It's such a spot, and they're trying so hard. They were trying so hard to build her up, and the thing is, like, she doesn't have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever Rhea Ripley has, she does not have. Right. The thing is, she is a very statuesque, just big individual. And hey, whatever. It's like you can't coach that. Much like if you're over 6'10", chances are, if you have any means of coordination, you can play college basketball, or you'll make it to a certain level. If you're over 7 feet, you're going to find a spot in the NBA, even if you're riding the bench.
Yeah.
Like, you can't coach height. You can't coach a human being of that size. Like, you can't get that. But it doesn't mean that you are any good. It doesn't mean that you're automatically gifted. It just means that you were born to be of a certain size.
Yeah.
And she does not have that thing. And I've watched her like back in the day, and she never like caught me as like some sort of a badass.
Yeah.
It was always just like, of course she's bigger and stronger. Okay. Well, but she just doesn't have that thing. And I'm just puzzled as to why they would bring her back, but
She needs
maybe
to have she needs to have a wise man. She's not a talker, and
oh gosh, yeah. If you gave her Heyman,
yeah, I think they could do some interesting things with her if they had her paired up with the right person.
Well, wait a minute, isn't she related to that?
She is.
No,
yeah, she's part of this. Yeah, she's part of Reigns' family.
Maybe that'll be a thing, because then maybe she'll become somewhat tolerable. But I don't know. I just I mean, then again, I mean, I never thought things would turn around with Reigns. But you know, hey,
I know that is quite a thing for you. So
I know I used to. Oh my gosh, my ratings for Roman Reigns matches now I'm. In a few moments here, I'll be singing his praises, and believe me, I'm not. The hypocrisy is not lost on me. Trust me. Trust me.
Yes.
What do you got for your biggest moment?
It would be the end of it. The final three out on the apron. Asuka going full Great Muta and intending it for Ripley and it hitting Morgan. Loved how scrappy Morgan was in trying to eliminate Ripley, but ultimately she had the upper hand, and so
it looks like $1 million in that.
Just overall, just all three of them just did a great job with the drama and the buildup of who was going to win and that sort of thing. So I thought it was a great ending, and very different from the men's. It wasn't a long drawn out match. It was just three women just scrapping to be the last one remaining on the ring, and so I enjoyed.
And the crowd was way into that ending.
Oh yeah, way
more than the ending of the men's Rumble match. Yep. They were hot for the end of that match, and deservedly so. That actually was mine, but I'm gonna downshift and just give another moment that I didn't shout out.
Sure.
Mostly because it's like my favorite entrant in the match, managing to lay the smackdown on my least favorite entrant. So I'm gonna go with Rhea's Riptide on Nia Jax.
Yes.
I mean, it was not textbook, it was not pretty, but you know what? That is just an example of strength.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, damn. And now knowing that like you're rolling on like one good wheel doing that, okay, even better, even more impressive.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, Shmuley. So next up we have our main. Oh wait, no, we have a interference before the main event because we had to have another one of these changeovers. We had our performance by Hardy, not Jeff, not Matt,
just
some
Hardy.
Yeah. I have no idea. Do you have any idea who this chucklehead is?
I have no idea. I just immediately put negative 500 stars because it just prolonged the evening. And I'm like, can we just get to the main event?
Yeah.
For crying out loud.
And what made it even worse, if anything was even possible, was the fact that they decided to leave McAfee's mic live so that he could sing along.
Oh, God.
And then like the interaction and all this. And oh my gosh. First of all, before I get to my rating and all this, and I said this to you, I would call Hardy a discount Kid Rock, but that's an insult to Uncle Cracker. Hardy is basically like that meth head homeless guy standing out in front of the 7-Eleven all day who is like severely dehydrated and hallucinating.
Speak it, wise man.
Who's singing along to like a half busted boombox. It's just bad.
Reach it.
Bad.
Yeah.
Like and from a production standpoint, the mix sucked. Absolutely sucked.
I turned the volume. I muted it. Like I just muted it, and I
didn't mute it because I was just like, I want to experience this.
I want some reading, and
I hate myself. So but I mean, it's obviously backing tracks to a live vocal track, which it was the one time I've wished for lip syncing because his live vocal was like, oh dear God.
Yeah,
you're horrible. You are horrible. Like, are you a complete studio creation? Like, even the monkeys could sing better than this? And here I'm talking about monkeys with 2 E's. Mike Nesmith, Davey Boy. All that. Like,
oh yes.
It was wretched vocal performance.
I was I don't know. I picked up a book I was reading on my Kindle, and I was just kind of flipping through a few pages while he was performing. So it's like,
I mean, literally, my second note for this dude is terrible with like 3 underlines.
All right.
The only way I could rate, I was trying to figure out a grading for this.
You put negative 1,000 stars to begin with. I don't know why you changed that.
Well, because I felt it didn't reflect just exactly how bad this was. So my rating is impossible to measure without developing a new form of math. Number of stars. It's impossible.
It's the infinity symbol, ladies and gentlemen.
Not even. Like, I feel like I need to get Stephen Hawking and then resurrect Einstein and put them together along with Max Planck and then come up with some sort of new form of like alien math that would then be able to calculate the sheer horridness of this. Anyways, I would have rather have had an Al Snow versus Tiger Ali Singh match. How about that? How about that? I would have rather had a 2018 Roman Reigns match.
Wow, that's saying
than
something.
This.
That's saying
Is it
something.
2018, or am I thinking like 2019, 20? One of those.
I think you want to go 19 or 20.
Yeah. Anyways, which now finally brings us to our main event. For the Universal WWE Championship, Roman Reigns defending against Kevin Owens.
Yes, my tribal chief.
Oh, my schmooly. Was this a journey or what?
Oh, this was just incredible.
First of all, I want to just give a big shout out for the person who bought tickets, knew exactly where they were in the arena, and made a tribal queef sign that was right on the entrance ramp and right behind Roman Reigns as they were making their entrance.
Oh, gosh.
Chef's kiss. Mwah. I mean, shoot your shot, player. Shoot your shot.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my, that is he's the real MVP of this entire night. Because I saw that and I started giggling uncontrollably. I reverted to like 4th grade again. It was everything I could have ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
But you and I both, with because I wrote this down, and you texted it to me like within 30 seconds of me finishing the note. Like, this was a legit big fight feel.
Yeah.
Period. The end. Like felt like Tyson. This felt like when what I imagine a Muhammad Ali fight, like Hogan, Andre, like whatever metric you want. This felt like a big fight. It felt serious. Like it just had that aura, and that's so hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you think about like now, they list off like all because they had 10 minutes to do it as Roman Reigns, meandered his way to the room, to the ring. But they go through like, Roman Reigns, the only people who have had the title longer are Hulk Hogan. And then immediately after Hulk Hogan, it's all guys from like the 70s and the 60s and the 50s.
Yeah, Pedro Morales from the 70s, Bruno Sammartino.
Yep.
From
Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
And Hogan. Hogan's the last one. And it's like, this is something that hasn't happened. But the thing is, like, when those guys had title defenses, or like when Hogan was on TV or a pay-per-view, you weren't seeing title defenses all the time. You knew the title wasn't going to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we live in an era where the titles can change on a Raw, on a SmackDown. And the fact that he's held it this long and that you can have a big fight feel when these, the big matchups can happen all the time because of the amount of TV shows and the amount of pay-per-views and everything.
Yeah.
The fact that you accomplish that in this era is a huge deal.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And it's part of what just blew me away. It kind of took my breath away because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're pulling me in.
Yeah.
Like, damn you.
Yeah. They're really leaning on the historical nature of what he's doing. And, the entrance was incredible. There wasn't anything special to it, but just there's a gravity to the whole thing that you just kind of felt. And I think it was a nice touch to just have it be Heyman and Zayn to accompany him. So you didn't have
Shmooly
and the Wise Man, and no Solo, no Jay, no Jimmy. What I thought was interesting, and I don't know if I just missed it on, because I, like you were talking through, like some of the in between stuff I just kind of ignored, but there really wasn't any sort of in between, kind of like what they do on SmackDown or Raw, where there was interaction between, the principles of all this. There wasn't any Sami Heyman interaction, or we didn't know what was going to happen. We just knew from the trial.
There was no backstage segments in the show.
None. And so,
which was refreshing.
We just knew from Raw that Reigns commanded Zayn to he didn't want to see him until Saturday. And that was it. And then he said something about there'd be a final test. And that was it.
He did show up on SmackDown, though.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I didn't watch it. So
I just happened to catch like the very end. Yeah. Because I forget what we were doing, but it was like.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought it was a nice touch, just, having to be kind of a smaller group. And then, Heyman is just, you and I were texting back and forth, just Heyman doesn't have to say anything these days. It's all in his face. It's all in what he does with those belts. It's the way he just plays off of Reigns and reacts. And oh my gosh, it was just,
he's gone from the advocate to like a true believer. Like the bloodline is part cult.
Yes.
Part wrestling faction, part, like corporation. It is this very weird thing. And Paul Heyman has managed to morph into this guy who, like, when you talk about the Wise Man, like he's like the shaman. It's beyond being an advisor and an advocate. It's like he is this almost mythic character within this group. And it's very interesting to see Paul Heyman do that, and you can tell like he's just enjoying the hell out of this because I really don't have any responsibilities here.
Yep.
It's great.
But yeah, and then the match itself was just great back and forth action. I have a note.
I wanted to ask you one question. I'm sorry because I will forget this. I believe, and you can correct me on this because you are the detail man in this operation. That was the first legit lockup we got all night.
Oh, yeah, I think you might be right.
Everything else was punch kick or just dive into each other or whatever.
Yeah.
That started off with a traditional wrestling match lockup. And I remember noting it because I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird. Like I almost in a way wonder if it's, because there's sometimes when, they're producing these matches like, okay, you can't do that finish because they're doing that finish. You can't do this, can't do. I wonder if it was almost like, no one else starts with a lockup because this is going to be like a legit old school kind of main event feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
It did it for me because as soon as that happened, it struck me because I'm like, I don't think anybody's done that all night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
no,
I think you're
this
right. is a match,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I don't have a note on that and wasn't really paying attention to that closely, but now that you say it, I think you're right. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry I interrupted you. You had a note.
No,
on
I just had a note about early in the match, just how good of a cocky heel Reigns is now. Like just doing things and talking smack and just kind of parading around the ring, not in a Flair kind of way, but just it's almost a cross between the lion, kind of parading around his prey, but also just just this idea like I'm just so much better than you, I've got you, and
I could see some of the Flair DNA in there though, like in just sort of the way he almost
just not the over the top though, you know what I mean? It's not over the top. It's just it's very focused and it's very deliberate. And
the way he talks to his opponent, the way he'll even like talk to the ringside fans.
Yes.
There's a little bit of Flair in there. Like that's it. That at least that kind of reminds me a little bit of Flair.
Yeah. Yeah. God, the frog splash on the concrete. I'm like, I don't know how you do that and someone's not hurting. So,
like the commentators even had to refer to it like, oh yeah, he caught a little bit of his knee or his arm or something. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. Yeah. There's no give. No. Like those mats are not that much.
Both the giver and the receiver were probably hurting after that one.
Everybody loses. Yeah. But I thought it was great that the match actually had a good mixture of, punch kick,
Yeah.
because that's just so much of wrestling these days. But there was a lot of like legit moves, and that is not the case with a lot of Roman Reigns matches, because he really has like what Superman punch, spear, and then there's that submission that he was doing for a while, the guillotine that you just basically just fall on him, and that would break it, but no one ever does that. But he doesn't have a big move set.
Yeah.
And working with Owens, like Owens was really dragging some of those moves out and turning it into more of a wrestling match rather than just two guys like fake punching each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I appreciated that. Like that to me, it elevated again. It gave a big match feel. Like there's stuff going on.
Right.
I can't say enough about this match. It was overall, it hit all the notes. I don't know what else you would want.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from it's granted, it's not like it's not Flair Steamboat, Savage Steamboat, anyone and Steamboat, or whatever your Bret Hart versus Shawn Michael versus. It's not one of those technical masterpieces, but they did what they had to do with and to progress the story. Like it was pitch perfect for these two participants and the story surrounding it. I think.
And like, I threw a note in here just how much more the match was enhanced by the story. Just the little details of Sammy being there and just what was going on, the emotion that was playing out. I did have a note too on. It looked like there was a botch. Owens botched. I think a sequence from the top rope, but was a real pro in the way he handled it. And then he reset, and they went and did it again, and then got it pulled off. They very clearly established Kevin Owens had Reigns dead to rights, and once again circumstances played out in such a way that Reigns survives because the ref was knocked out. And then we get to Sammy in the chair.
Well,
not over there.
Before we get to that, can we just talk just a little bit about how there wasn't 18 stunners?
Yes.
To this match. They saved the stunner for that one spot.
Yeah.
And they did, and granted, they did the Superman punch like twice, and Roman did like 10 spears, but that's, of course, it's because he doesn't do a whole lot else.
Yeah.
Which I'm not gonna. I've gone from the point of like a genetic level hatred of Roman Reigns' characters. Now it's just like, well, he doesn't have to, because of that's who the character is. Like I don't know if they managed to turn the character to fit what he can do, or if it just all happenstance came together or whatever. But I just know that I don't like dislike this guy on the DNA level anymore, which is remarkable for me.
It is.
But they. Growth. But they even though he hit a lot of what would normally be his finishers, it kind of played into the entire story of the match. It wasn't like they were kicking out of each other's finishers. It was really Roman hitting a lot of his big moves and Owens kicking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Reigns having to go that next level of viciousness in order to finish him. That ended up being the story. And then Owens really getting the stunner protected and hitting that one. And when he did, because nothing had happened, there had been no real shenanigans, no run-ins, no this, no that.
Yeah.
I legit thought that was the finish.
Yeah.
When he hit the stunner, I was like, that's it. That's it. Because I mean, when the ref bump happened, that wasn't the stunner.
Right.
Like the stunner came afterwards. Is when the ref finally came to his senses, and it was crazy that the fact that wasn't the finish to me.
Yeah, I think he did the pop-up power bomb, which has been another one of Owens' finishers. So that was why that, I think, was a believable segment in terms of him having him dead to rights. Sort of thing.
Which give Reigns. I mean, because actually Reigns did the sit out power bomb. And Owens did the pop-up powerbomb. Give credit both of those guys on both of those moves, because Reigns got some height jumping up there to help Owens.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't care how strong you are. Roman Reigns is a very large human being.
Yeah.
He's not a little dude. And big assist there. Almost the same, going back to the women's rumble of, what's her, I can't remember her first name again, Perez. Roxanne Perez, when she did that move with Rhea Ripley and literally floated around Rhea Ripley 3 times, like 3 orbits.
Oh yeah, like she was gonna kind of do like a Hurricane Rana, but then continue to like yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Like huge credit to her, but also to Ripley to like make sure like that she doesn't go flying off into the 3rd row.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, credit to both participants for making each other look like $1 million. Yeah, it was you're right. Pop-up power bomb, with the ref bump and all that, and done so well because then Owens realizing what's going on and looking at the ref and getting that moment of him just being like, crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then leading, of course, to Shmuley get the chair.
Yes.
Which was almost like it started turning into a Benny Hill piece.
Oh my
gosh! At one point when he's looking everywhere but where the chairs are, until Heyman's like, Shmuley, over here, under the ring. Which was priceless. Again, Paul Heyman in 5th gear this whole match. You could hear him. You could tell he knew there were microphones at rings, more microphones than usual, and that he was going to get picked up because he was just living it up.
Oh yeah,
he was going for it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
He was like Nick Cage doing a movie once he was out of his alimony payments. He was like, now I'm really going to go for things.
Yeah.
Oh geez.
And I'm trying to remember, I think this was still during the match, but just, toward the end when Reigns starts getting super vicious and I honestly don't, I try to watch, I watched it back again. I'm trying to see like how Owens can take that, the shot to the stairs where he's just throwing him backwards. And I'm just
the only thing I could come up with is so he had his wrists hand wrapped.
Yeah.
And he did get that hand back there. I'm wondering if he managed to get some padding in there.
Yeah.
Without it being too much and managed to, and like protecting his head.
Well, I was thinking too, his back too, like he was taking it on the shoulders and back mostly.
Oh yeah, that's
still the way they did it, like so quickly. Like holy moly.
And the thing was, again, this crowd, so good to get a mirror on your own emotions. The crowd got quiet, and not like bored quiet.
Yeah,
like quiet. Like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah,
because the crowd was quiet at the beginning of the match, and they built this thing and they pulled everybody in.
Yeah.
By the end, the crowd was raucous.
Oh yeah.
Especially when they thought Owens got the pin.
Yep.
And then when Roman started getting that extra viciousness, crowd got real quiet. Like spooky kind of quiet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they've got everybody eating out of the palm of their friggin' hands. It's amazing. Yeah, and of course that hesitation by Shmuley, by Sami Zayn, who was getting the Sammy Uso chants at the beginning, and Kevin Owens literally like taunting Roman with it, like they're not chanting for you. Damn,
that was funny. That was funny.
But yeah, and then all the way to the end of this thing, man, it was crazy.
Yeah,
it was
and
absolute crazy.
I love the fact that afterwards that Cole, McAfee, and Graves just shut up through the whole ending. When they were putting the beat down on him.
Cole did try and get in a little. It was a little bit of a shout out to JR with a Hell in a Cell match. Somebody stopped the damn match call where he was saying to the ref, Pat or whatever, like stop the damn match.
Yeah. Trying to sell, just the vicious violence that Reigns was putting down on him. Yeah. No.
And you said even before, like, it's too bad the match didn't go longer. I think the match went as exactly long as it needed to, because then there was all that storytelling at the end. That's
why I came around on it. Yeah. Because there was like that probably had to be at least 5 to 10 minutes worth of, no, not even 5. It's probably 7 to 10 minutes worth of action that followed.
And not even action. Like so much of that was slow, real slow.
And it's like the beat down. There was a lot there was a lot that went into the beat down, and then you had Heyman who pulled the handcuffs out.
Oh yeah, no, and believe me, I'm not slagging on it. I'm just saying, like it was a slow build. Like it was literally it made me. The first thing that came up was BSG. Like when Ron Moore talked about, we hang on those characters we'll cut action.
Yeah.
shorter, to hang on a character for longer, for those character moments. And that's what that was. Like, even like when Sammy got the chair, and you could feel the crowd just like, he's gonna do it. And Roman turned his back for the first time in a traditional setting. That's when the chair shot happens.
Yeah.
They didn't. And I wonder if that's where it was intended to be. And Sammy made the call there. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to let it go.
Yeah.
I'm going to fake cry.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this up even more.
Yeah.
Because they did. That dragged on. And I'm not saying drag in a negative. Like, that took a long time. And so that when he finally did hit that chair shot, dude, that pop, I haven't heard anything like that, like a legit pop like that, almost since like back when we used to watch Austin and Rock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that was a legit emotional, just exclamation point. And it gave me chills when it happened, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I you know, when we were talking about the women's title match and the comparison I was making to the men's, I mean, this is where, you know, this story is just at a complete next level from anything else they have going on. I mean, it is just so
totally.
well done. They have,
and anything they've had going on in years.
Yeah. And they have, you know, they've invested a lot into it. They've invested a lot in, you know, playing and riffing with, I think, you know, like you said, like Heyman, you know, Sammy, the way things have, you know, kind of clicked with the, you know, 5, 6, 7 of them. I forget how many of them there are.
The 18 members of the Bloodline.
Yes. And so it was just such a great buildup where, yeah, this guy that he's traveled the roads with is just hanging there. And Reigns basically puts, you know, tells him to pull the trigger. It's you know, it's on you.
Well, and the best part of this, and this is, I don't know how much of this is Sami Zayn. I might be giving him way more credit than he deserves. But the way he hooked the ref's arm at War Games, it's just something you don't see as a way to stop a pin, you know, a 3 count. And then the way that he stopped Roman, where it wasn't like, no, you can't do this to my buddy. Is like, you don't have to do this. It's beneath you. Like, he's still trying to be Roman's buddy.
Right.
And save, you know, Owens. Like, he's trying to have it both ways.
Yeah.
Like, he is still struggling so much. And I just love that, because it wasn't just this pure, like, good guy, like, no, you shan't. He's like, no, it's okay. You don't have to. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's still trying to have his cake and eat it too.
Yeah. Like,
you know,
like
and I'm a big fan of that.
He kept saying this is beneath you. And then that's when he hands, you know, the chair over to him. And yeah, I mean, like you said, there's just this long pause and the crowd's waiting to see what he's going to do, because they saw him, you know, basically go against Owens, you know, at Survivor Series. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he pulls the trigger and whacks his friend.
Oh, and even the fact that, like, when Owens is on the outside and he's like, he finally has to say, like, the dude is like right there, like trying to literally like reach for him, like, help me up or something. He's like, just stay down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Everything about this and the way that Sami Zayn, damn, dude, come on.
Well, and then when Owens then Owens grabs his leg and Zayn puts his hands up. He wants Roman to see, I'm not helping him. I'm just this is him, not me. Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like, they pulled me in. A cynical mid-40s wrestling fan who knows how the sausage is made, and damn it, you got me.
Yep. And then
I was fully emotionally invested.
And then when he swings that chair and cracks Reigns in the back, and you hear. Yeah, I mean, that was 51,000 people, along with everyone at home watching, all reacting to what they've been wanting to see this character do for so long, where Reigns is just so clearly in the wrong with what he's doing, you know, and the way he's trying to manipulate Zayn and so forth. And this is what everyone's been waiting to see. They've been waiting to see Sammy just say enough. And then after that, it's not just done there. He turns around and he looks right at Jay and he's just apologizing.
Yes.
And,
oh my gosh.
Like there's really a bond there between the two of them. Like, this isn't just Zayn, you know, throwing, you know, everything to the wind because he's standing by Owens now. he looks directly at Jay, and he throws the chair down and just is like, I'm sorry. And then, Jimmy just broadsides him, Solo goes at him. I mean, it was just, and then he's just getting the beat down, and then Jay leaves.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So much levels to this. It's like, it's gorgeous storytelling. And this is why I'm like, this can be, it's just a different form of storytelling, and it can have all of the layers of other types of entertainment.
Yeah. And
you just need someone who has more than a fifth grade sense of humor booking this stuff.
Yeah.
Go figure. But yeah, oh my gosh, when Jay rolled out like that is like, that was almost, it was like it kept on topping itself, because you're like, oh my gosh, what else could happen? It's like, okay, now an actual member of the family.
Right.
He's not punching anybody. He's just leaving, which is more than anybody would have dared to do.
And Reigns is not happy by that. And to be honest, what's beautiful about that is that it's not just a call out or a reference to this, supposed bond between, Jay and Sammy, but this goes back to the forming of the bloodline when Jay was the one who, Jimmy was the first one to go in with Roman. Jay had to get beaten down a few times by Roman before Jay accepted his place within the bloodline. Reigns had to beat that into him. And so that's what I mean. And you said it as well. There's just so many levels to this, because Jay didn't walk out just because of what happened with Sammy, but now it could be calling back full circle 3 years ago when he went against the tribal chief several times, got beaten every single time, and then finally accepted his place. And now he's having second thoughts again.
I completely forgot about that. Good callback.
Yeah.
Good callback.
Yeah. No, this story is just amazing, and is probably one of the best that they've done in a really long time. And Sami Zayn, we talk a lot about him, and he gets a lot of credit for it. I mean, all of the players involved have done a remarkable job with this. They've played their roles well. They have shown the emotion that needs to be shown. But Sammy just, I watched the Stone Cold the Stone Cold show with Sami Zayn, and just how attuned he is to those details. Like he is the kind of guy that looks for whether it's facials or body language or whatever, he's looking for those ways to connect with the crowd. And what I'm hoping to see is, as time goes forward, is that we're going to end up seeing, this payoff in him potentially getting a title shot at WrestleMania, where Reigns wants to, publicly humiliate him or beat him down and put him back into his place. And what's going to end up happening is Reigns is going to lose everything, because he's trying to assert, he feels things slipping away. You know what I mean? Like, this is where this is all coming from. All this stuff with Sammy he was feeling things slipping away. Sammy's getting the chance. He's becoming jealous of Sammy. And now it's all going to fall apart. And so I just think they've just done a beautiful job with this story.
Indeed. Now, of course, the loaded question. What's your rating?
Well, originally I went 4 3/4 because I thought the match was a little shorter than it could have been. But then today, as I thought through it some more, when you factor in what happened after and the payoff and everything, how if you look at the body of work from the entrance all the way to that very end point, 5 stars. It was about as perfect a match as you could put together based on the story that was going on, and just as based on what you and I have just said. I think they hit all the right notes, and the reaction from the crowd more than bears that out.
Yeah, I would agree. 5 stars. It was exactly what. Again, you can't judge all of this in some sort of vacuum or oh well, it wasn't, again, Savage Steamboat from WrestleMania 3 or whatever you hold up as the greatest wrestling match of all time, and nothing shall be considered a 5-star besides that. For what you were trying to do with the story, with the participants involved, it was perfect.
Yeah. Yep.
You rang all the bells, you hit all the notes. There was the only nits I could pick out of this is the one botch spot, which was handled extremely professionally, like you said.
Yeah.
And the fact that KO's headbutts looked really fake and weak. That was it. But then again, I mean, whose headbutts really do look good?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. So yeah, it's about as perfect of a main event that in the story you're trying to tell that you could want.
Yeah.
You did everything you could want, and now you haven't blown off anything.
Mm-hmm.
You've just turned the heat up.
Oh yeah.
And now instead of one,
what's the next step?
Yeah, instead of one pot boiling now, you got like 3.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
What else do you want? I mean,
absolutely.
Geez. Oh man, it was a well done show. I mean, oh my gosh, it felt like it was not going to get over till about 2 a.m. But
much
still,
like this show.
I wasn't going to say that, but yes, thank you. But well done, WWE, and hopefully doesn't mean this is the end of things, and that Vince will take over everything, and it'll all go back to being crappy.
Yeah, hopefully not.
And another thing.
So what do you got for And Another Thing this show, sir?
Well, in some of my lunchtime rewatch that I do here and there, I decided to crack open an oldie but a goodie from I think it was from 2004, 2005, from the WWE archives, a documentary done by WWE called "The Rise and Fall of ECW."
Excellent,
starring
excellent.
No one less than the Wise Man. Before he was the Wise Man, before he was the Advocate, before all of that, he was, as Bubba Ray Dudley called him, a diabolical evil genius known as Paul Heyman, who created in the 90s this amazing, ultra-violent, but just really groundbreaking, and really what pushed WWE and WCW to change a lot of things that they were doing. Called ECW, and so it basically walks through the journey that Heyman and the wrestlers who became legends through their work there, how it all came to be, and how much of it was a grassroots sort of thing, and the growth they went through, and then ultimately how they kind of hit a wall, and it just couldn't grow anymore, and it ended up unfortunately shutting down around 2000, 2001. Interestingly, the same year WCW did. It was very odd with the wrestling industry that year. You know, you went from 3 companies to 1. And it was so it basically chronicles all of that, and Paul Heyman is just, as always, just an amazing storyteller, and you have all the originals giving their kind of perspective and viewpoint, and you get to understand how a lot of these I love what Heyman says, like the whole purpose of ECW or one of their mantras was to hide really hide the negatives of the performers and accentuate the positives, and really from doing that, they created a product that was very unique, and like I said, really set the tone in the 90s for where wrestling was going to go, and WWE and WCW really in a lot of ways adopted those elements. So on the Peacock, if you have it, check it out, The Rise and Fall of ECW.
And I will second this one because I've watched this now several times. The first few times were on YouTube back before the WWE Network and the Peacock was a thing. And I was too damn cheap to buy a DVD, and I found it in various parts on YouTube. Yeah, and then have watched it at least once on Peacock. Well done documentary, mostly because it shows the warts, and I give a lot of credit to Paul Heyman for being willing to go ahead and tell it all, and willing to have people basically say, like, and Paul lied to me, or this happened, or this happened, and this happened, and and Paul essentially being like, and I did that, and I did it all so that the company could stay. I did a lot of things I didn't like myself for, so that the company would be there the next day.
Right.
And you kind of like, it gets that he makes you understand why. Yeah. And I really appreciated that. But yeah, fantastic documentary and a wonderful story. And just try and forget that ECW then came back as a third brand for a while. And that, I think, was Big Show the final ECW champion? Do we even want to
sadly
talk about?
I think so.
Well,
thank you, Paul.
that's just terrible. So my and another thing is fighting with my family. I'm a few years late on this, obviously, but this is the WWE Studios / Dwayne Johnson produced story of the ladies wrestler Paige,
yes.
who came into the WWE back in the Divas era. And found her way from England as a part of a wrestling family into the WWE and all this. Fun flick. I saw this somewhere the other night, and we were trying to find movies for the family, and this came up as a preview, and surprisingly, my wife, who is staunchly anti-wrestling, was like, I'd watch that. I'm like, you what? And she's like, well, The Rock's in it. I like him as an actor. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, I think he's in about 10 minutes total of the movie, but sure, whatever. Flo's in it, so whatever. Our friend of the show, Florence Pugh. And it was a good, fun movie to watch. It was good, and I'd seen it for the past couple of years. I can't remember what year it came out, but it was a fun watch with the family, inspiring. It got the wife crying at one point, so I mean, it's got to be good. Tugged on the old heartstrings, and yeah, just a good old fashioned feel good movie. And the funny thing is, it actually had my wife researching Paige afterwards.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
like, are you looking up wrestlers? She's like, yes, I am. I'm like, okay.
My gosh.
Which is funny because I watched the Becoming Ric Flair. Or is it Woo?
Yeah. I started watching that today. That one sucks you in too. Jeez.
I watched like the first half of that, and then I then started watching the end part. And my wife happened to be around, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna watch that wrestling thing!" And then she got sucked into it.
Yeah.
In the second half of it.
Yeah.
And so when I talked about the Royal Rumble, she's like, well, was Ric Flair there? I'm like, that's the one wrestler besides Dwayne Johnson right now. Which is two more than I ever thought you would know.
Oh, that's funny.
But no, Ric Flair was not at the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
But yes, we're fighting with my family. Fun flick to watch if you're looking for a good wrestling flick with the family.
Nice. Very nice.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have now entered hour 7 of this show that was intended to be like an hour and a half. Thank you for sticking around. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you to all the members of the Free Range Idiocy congregation for, stuffing the offering box in the offering plate. Make sure that sucker makes it around to the ushers, and don't start making change. We can tell. But if you have not subscribed, what the hell's wrong with you? You can go to freerangeidiocy.com. You can find all of our episodes there. You can download them all there, or you can subscribe to the Podbean app. You can also find us on podcast purveyors of note around the world. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Pandora. We are on, I think we're on whatever Amazon does, Alexa, whatever, say, Alexa, play Free Range Idiocy, and tell the FBI that I'm listening to Free Range Idiocy. We're also on Google Podcasts, all kinds of Spotify, all kinds of podcasts. Go ahead and search for us. You'll find us probably. And if not, tough. Find a better way to listen to podcasts. We are also on the social medias. You can find us on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. All of those are at Free Range Idiocy. We used to be on Twitter, F Twitter, and F the Mollusk. If you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, you can find us on the emails. You send an email to Tim at freerangeidiocy.com with any suggestions, questions, thoughts on the show. And you know what? You just might end up having your name mentioned on the interwebs. Isn't that just special?
Indeed.
I mean, not really, because anybody can post anything on the internet now, but still, if it makes you feel special, we are more than happy to try and,
trying to
help
spread the
you.
joy.
Exactly.
Spread the special.
And don't spread the Rona. That's what we're trying. I'm actually masked during this show,
right.
Mostly because my wife just comes in and goes, oh, God. But I'm the only person wearing a K95 mask over my eyes. It's amazing.
Good Lord.
But now we're going to turn this show over to the
pitch black match.
to the less Corona-addled and less idiotic idiot who runs this show. But not before I ask the second most important question in all of human history. The first, of course, being, what is hip? The second being, the hell did we learn this show?
We've learned the following.
Good.
We've learned that Uncle Todd, the man they call Tim, can talk ad nauseum about wrestling for quite some time. And
then post nauseum as well.
And post nauseum as well.
Tim actually did have to take a puke break.
I did.
It's that bacon jelly from dinner.
Bacon jam. Bacon jam.
Bacon jam. It's not jelly. Don't call it jelly, you heathen.
We have also learned, speaking of which, the man they call Tim's heart is in fine working order, even though it may be pumping Hellsman through all throughout.
Helmsman.
Oh, Helmsman.
No,
whatever.
Hellmans. Helmsman. No, that was Wesley Crusher.
It's like Grandpa Simpson. The Hellfish, Bonanza, or whatever they were called.
Tartar sauce.
Oh God. Anyways, well, we've learned men they call Tim's heart maybe in fine working order, but Uncle Todd,
his brain not so much. His
brain not so much, and Uncle Todd has put the Rona in the camel clutch, so he is in fine working order, and
make you humble.
We're thankful that he has made it humble. So we've also learned within the last 5 minutes that apparently he is Uncle Todd's creating his own pitch black match by wearing his K95 mask over his eyes. Apparently, so we'll see how that.
Mostly so my wife doesn't have to look at me. That's all right.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Did we just take a wrong turn?
We turned a corner, ladies and gentlemen, and I apologize.
We have also learned that even though Uncle Todd may try to put up guardrails to keep our discussion on track and focused, we will find a way to run amok and beyond said rails. So, time and time again.
Much like Ron White, I'll run amok. I'll run the chuck out of a muck, man.
Indeed. And finally, last thing we have learned, and if you have not seen, do catch up on
Dewdrop?
Well, Dewdrop is no longer. But most importantly, check out the Bloodline storyline from WWE. They have done, as Uncle Todd and I have talked for the last 2 hours and 45 minutes, just a phenomenal job, and it is a great bit of storytelling. If you are a wrestling fan of any kind and have not seen this, do check it out from the beginning. Check out the Peacock, see what you can see from it. Check YouTube and get caught up on the Sami Zayn storyline. But just an amazing climax to it, and we're looking forward to see where it goes next. All that being said, be safe, be healthy, be kind, be good to one another. Don't wear the KN95 on the eyes, please. Uncle Todd is going to stumble and he will fall on his way out of the recording studio. But nonetheless, as we like to close things out, in order for us to function and continue to work, we need to make sure that the lights are turned off. So if you could please hit the lights on the way out.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
Damn!
You're such a disappointing pair. I prayed so hard for you. Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
I really feel like between the raccoon role playing at the beginning of the show and the pitch black comment at the end, I've shared a lot more than I really need to with strangers on the internet.
I should have mentioned that.
I want to apologize to everybody right now.
The raccoon role playing was quite the corner we turned there.
You know, I mean, I'm not here to kink shame. I'm just trying to share. That's all.
Oh my goodness.
Now get the hell out of here!